The woman with pain in her voice begged the man to marry her. She sat on the floor in tears and asked for permission to live here for 3 years. The girl promised to be quieter than a mouse and then disappear unnoticed. The gentleman did not understand at all why he should accept her proposal. The main character had no idea what to do or where to go if she was kicked out of here. In that case, she decided to tell him that she knew what he was hiding. The man asked again in surprise. A violent thunderstorm had begun. Their words were no longer audible, and after the conversation, the man laughed and sat down next to the girl. He finally proposed marriage to her. And so she married Aslan Tordel. The wedding was simply incredible. I can't even describe it in words. The guests thought that Duke Tordel was good at everything, but apparently his woman was not very tasty. They couldn't talk about the rumors he had brought upon himself because of such a bride. She comes from a simple family and is not at all a beauty, so it is not at all clear how she was able to attract the Duke. Perhaps she is hiding some talent. The girl knew what people would think when they found out that he was marrying her. After all, she read it in a novel. Now she is inside the novel she read in her past life. At the age of 10, she woke up remembering her past life. At first, she thought that these memories had nothing to do with her. After all, her life was ordinary. However, everything in her life turned out just as it was written in that book. It was as if her fate had already been decided, and there was nothing she could do about it. And so she became Aslan's wife for 3 years. Now she is Duchess Tordel, as described in the novel. After all, neither the sea current nor the direction of the wind can be changed. Suddenly, Aslan threw his jacket over her and noted that the wind was cold. It was a fate her heart could not resist. While the main character fell in love with him, she's even content with being his contract wife. The main thing is that she's by his side. The lady wants this happiness to never end. And so 3 years later that day arrived. A woman named Rosalind Faridot was delighted to meet her. Rosalind remarked that she owed their house a debt and was delighted to see them. This woman is the one who stole Aslan's heart. The girl had no idea what to say, so Rosalind thought there was something wrong with the lady. She began to collapse right on the steps. The Duke grabbed her in his arms and tried to revive her, but she knew that one day this day would come. The main character of the novel, Aslan Tordel, fell in love with Rosaline Ferdot at first sight. Having decided to live with her all his life, he broke up with his wife after 3 years, and he made Rosalind his lawful wife. As for our main character, no one knows what became of her. The main characters of this novel are Aslan and Rosaline, and she is only the Duchess of Tordel. Her name was barely mentioned in the novel. After all, she's a minor character. The Duke was glad when he saw that his lady had come to her senses. Aslan said that he would call a doctor and asked her to wait a little. The Duchess said she was perfectly fine. The man turned around, took a glass, and poured her some water, asking her to drink. The girl was very grateful to him for his care, and he said that she should see a doctor. She fainted for no reason, but the lady said everything was really fine and she wasn't sick. She was simply surprised that he suddenly brought a strange girl into the house. Aslan understood everything. The lady apologized and noted that she simply ruined the whole atmosphere. After all this, woman was his guest, and he had to greet her properly. The Duke told her not to interrupt, because it was his fault that he had brought her to visit without telling her. Rosalind is his distant relative, and he met her by chance and learned about the girl's difficult situation. The girl knows about this because it was all written in the novel. The main character, orphaned by a sudden tragedy, was sold to a rich old man to cover her debts. And Aslan, her distant relative, met her by chance, took pity on her, and paid off all her debts. He promised to take care of her and brought her to his house. The man said that she would not be here for long because he would try to find a match for her as soon as possible. He also hoped that next spring she would be able to start a new life by meeting a good man. Therefore, he asks the lady to call and let her stay here for a year. The lady understood that nothing would change, even if she kicked her out now. So she said that's what they would do. The man was very grateful to her. No matter how hard she tries to change the novel, in the end, everything will be as it is written. I've changed a lot in a week. The ladies were shocked by how much you've prepared for Rosalind. It was a love letter after all. And so romantic Rosaline was sure he was only looking out for her, since she knew nothing about it. The girl laughed and did not understand how she could be so modest, because she was so noble, as if she had always lived here. The other lady agreed with her and remarked that she would not be surprised if she were the mistress of this mansion. Rosalind told them not to talk like that, because this mansion already has a mistress. The girl was very glad to see Duchess Tordell. The woman remarked that they seemed to be having fun, but she felt awkward. A familiar situation. No matter how hard the Duchess tried, they still wouldn't accept her. She couldn't win their favor for 3 years, but Rosaline did it in just a week. Rosalina asked the lady if she was feeling better. She wanted to visit her, but she was told that the lady was still ill, so she could not come. The Duchess reported that everything was fine and was very grateful for her concern. Rosalind, I wanted to ask her something anyway, so she took her away for a second. The lady was surprised that she had a question for her, and she didn't quite understand what was going on. Rosaline said that in fact, she had heard strange rumors from other noble ladies. The lady didn't quite understand where she was going with this. Still, she said they were talking about Aslan kidnapping her and forcing her to marry him. The Duchess was in complete shock, and the girl said that she of course did not believe it at all, as she saw that Aslan was such a reckless person, so she asked the lady if this was really nonsense. Aslan Tordell is a vile scoundrel. He is a criminal who kidnapped his daughter and forced her to marry him. Even his fiancée was against this marriage, so why was the Duke so stubborn? The lady doesn't even know what's going on there. But I'm sure Aslan is making a huge mistake. They didn't even realize he was such a shameless jerk, so ignorant of simple manners. How captivated is he by her that he would do such a thing? Is she really that beautiful? Helena Laurestin. Such a name had never been heard anywhere. The lady asked the gentleman if he was sure everything would be all right. Aslan asked her if this was what she wanted. To keep her parents from touching her, she married him and became a duchess. That was their agreement. Helena noted that it was true. But there was one thing. Suddenly, she came out of her thoughts because she heard her name being called. And then she said that Aslan is a very caring person, so you shouldn't believe these rumors. Helena said that she asks for forgiveness because she will be the first to leave. Aslan Tordell is the only heir of the Tordell family with a centuries-old history. A young duke who has it all. Wealth, power, and stunning good looks. He was perfect until the main character came along. But even so, she had no other choice. And all to escape the Laurestin family. It all started when she was 10. A horse rushed at her, and then her mother came up to her. She was very happy that her daughter was alive. The girl didn't quite understand who Helena was. She apologized to Madame and said that wasn't her name. Suddenly, a man ran up to her and asked the lady to tidy herself up because Helena had died. Yesterday, I approached the girl and noticed that, of those they had seen, she looked most like her. The man asked how old she was. That same night she was kidnapped. Her real name is Rayla. After all, that's what her parents called her when she was kidnapped. They asked for their daughter to be returned. From that day on, she became Helena Laurestin. For the sake of the Lady Count Laristine, who had gone mad because of his dead daughter, gave her a girl as a replacement. The maids said that of all those who came here, she was the most like the original fate was kind to her. They said that if she played the role of Helena, well, she would be able to live her whole life as a noblewoman. But if she fails, like the two who came before her, then she too will die. Everyone thought that the Count was too kind to do such a thing for his crazy wife. He has no choice, because he does not want to lose his wife's inheritance, so he protects her in everything. The girl wanted to prove to everyone that she was not Helena, but Rayla Violet. When Madame Laurestin dies, she will become unnecessary and will be sent away. And finally, she could return to her former life. And now the day she'd been waiting for had arrived. But Count Laurestin wouldn't let her go. He asked if she'd left this crazy will. She bequeathed all her property to her daughter. It says here that until Helena becomes an adult, then no one has the right to touch her inheritance. The Count was completely horrified. I told her to simply kill that girl. If she dies before marriage, all the property will go to him. The servant said there was one more condition. If Helena dies before reaching adulthood, then the entire inheritance must be donated to God. The man was furious and realized that there was nothing he could do. So the Count ordered her locked in the attic and kept there until she came of age. And so she ended up locked in the attic. They served her dinner, but they began treating her worse than a servant. It was very difficult for her, but at least she could stop pretending to be someone else. Finally, the girl felt relief. But this peace did not last long. After the death of his mistress, the Count's mistress immediately became his second wife. The guy noticed that he had a very beautiful little sister, and he liked her. Glock is the Count's illegitimate son. He made her life a living hell. He asked her to clean his room, and if she was tired, she could rest a little. His mother scolded him because she told him that he shouldn't talk to that girl. She was given clothes for the ball next week, which she had to wash. The woman also asked the Count when she would leave their house, where she was worried that, because of her, their son would take the wrong path. The Count asked her to be patient a little longer, because he would soon sort everything out. To show that Helena was still alive, she was sometimes forced to take part in social events. That's where she met him. She noticed someone drop a handkerchief and tried to catch up with them. It was Aslan. He turned and thanked the lady. This made the girl smile. She never saw such a handsome man before. Aslan remarked that he treasured him, but almost lost him. Aslan also introduced himself. When she heard it, she realized she'd heard that name somewhere before. The man also asked if he would consider it rude that he wanted to know her name. The girl finally said she was Helena Laurestin. His face immediately changed. She returned something important to him, and he wants to thank her. Selena said that it was not necessary. The introduction did not do anything like that. Even if she doesn't need anything now, she can express her desire later. He asked her to take one thing, and if she had any request, she could come to the mansion and show it to him. He hoped to see her again, and then he began to leave. Aslan Tordel, Duke of Tordel. Suddenly, she remembered that was the name of the main character from that novel. Come to think of it, the Duchess's name was the same as hers. Helena Laurestin. The girl couldn't believe she could be a duchess, and she thought they would never even meet again. Well, she decided to just keep the ring as a keepsake, but she just needed to hide it well. At that very moment, Glock came to her and asked how his little sister was doing, and what she was doing in general. She must know that his mother wants to marry her off to a dying old man, and he believed that it was better to live with him than to be sold to a vile old man. Her stepbrother told her that she shouldn't act so coldly towards him. Her real parents were now unknown where, and he asked her if she really didn't care where they were now. Helena, horrified, asked him if he knew her parents. He confirmed it, telling her they had come here to look for her. Afterwards, she asked what had happened to them. Glock explained that her father had ordered her family killed before something bad happened, but they seemed to have fled like rats. Helena tried to ask where they were now, and the guy said that she should lay it on him since she wanted to know so much. If he is in a good mood, he can find them in secret from his father. Helena understood that she had to endure in order to see her parents again. But suddenly, she remembered her mother's words about her not holding back at all if someone offends her. So she grabbed a candle and hit her half-brother, who immediately fell down. The girl didn't understand at all what to do and what to do now. Helena realized the only way out was to run. Her family was looking for her, so she had to escape and survive. She came to the mansion, asked him if he remembered her, and also introduced herself. Recently at a banquet, he told her to find him if she had a request for him. The man suggested that he thought she needed to change her clothes first, as she was completely frozen. He didn't understand at all why she was dressed so lightly on such a cold evening. Elena immediately asked for forgiveness, for that she is dirtying his mansion. Aslan doesn't know what's going on, but first she needs to change into dry clothes, and then he'll listen to her. He ordered the services to take care of the lady. The scent of lilac is her favorite scent. The girl didn't quite understand where he got clothes in her size. The Duke was alone after all, and he had no sisters. The lady was very grateful that he was so kind to her. Aslan remarked that now they could talk. She had come late at night to ask him for something. She tearfully asked him to marry her. If she died unmarried, all her property would go to her father, if he intended to kill him while she was married. That all the property would go to her husband, so Count Larestine would never leave her alone. She asked the Count to let her live here for only 3 years. She would be quieter than a mouse, and then quietly disappear. Aslan did not understand why he should accept her offer. The girl said that she had an inheritance from the Countess, which she would receive when she came of age. If he marries her, she will give it to him. The Duke said he didn't know, because he wasn't the kind of person who needed property. The Duchy of Tordel is not in poverty. Helena was at a loss as to what to do since she had nowhere to go if she were expelled. Helena Laurestin from the novel threatened Aslan and forced him to marry her for 3 years. And all because Helena knew the secret. So this time, the girl decided to take advantage of it too. Still, he proposed marriage to her. That's how they became husband and wife 3 years ago. She overheard a conversation by chance. Her husband said it was just an arranged marriage. At her request, they agreed to live together as husband and wife for 3 years. Rosalind asked if he married Mrs. Nid because he loved her. Aslan pointed out that their contract didn't mention love at all. They agreed to annoy each other for these 3 years. Helena knew that this would happen, so she decided to run away from this place. An arranged marriage can't be desirable. And in the novel, Helena and Aslan weren't on good terms. There was no room for love in their relationship, but still she called him Duke again, and he had no idea how much longer she would continue to call him so formally. The lady did not understand at all what his name was, and the gentleman said that she could simply call him Aslan. They are husband and wife, after all. I don't think Helena ever called Aslan by name in the novel, and Aslan, unlike in the novel, was strangely kind to her. He asked her if she liked the garden. She was just stunned when he found out these were her favorite flowers. The man said he prepared them as a wedding gift. It's hard for her to live in an unfamiliar place, so now they have a place to relax. Thanks to her, he learned about the beauty of these flowers, so he is very grateful. This gave her hope, but her reputation was still as terrible as in the novel. It seems she's never been educated. This is the first time the ladies have seen a duchess ignorant of etiquette. They're completely baffled as to how such a girl could have won the favor of Duke Tortle. Aslan approached her and said that his wife was very pale. If she is tired, she can go and rest, avoiding overexerting herself because she is so fragile. Aslan's attitude towards her is very different from what it was in the novel. Does he really love her? How did this useless hope come to be born within her? It's all her fault. Phrases from a novel in the same situation. They agreed to annoy me with each other for these 3 years. In the end, everything is as it is written in the book, as if she is trapped by a fate that is already predetermined. She fainted. The maids were shocked that she fainted again. She seemed to be getting better lately. When Helena lived with the Laurestin family, her body became very weak due to constant stress and bullying. Suddenly, she felt Aslan's hand, but she understood that this could not be, and it had to be Jaina. Helena can't hear anything because of the ringing in her ears. It was also Aslan asking his wife to open her eyes. Jean told the master that she would look after the mistress, and he could rest. Well, the master ordered everyone to leave, but he would remain here. He ordered that no one be allowed in so as not to disturb the lady's rest. The maid apologized and said Lady Rosaline had come to visit, but the master repeated what he had already said. Don't let anyone in. The man took her hand and said that he didn't know what to do every time she fainted. He asked her not to be sick for long and then kissed her hand. Rosalind asked if they had accurately conveyed that she had come. The maid confirmed and said that the master had ordered not to let anyone in. They run without looking back and hear that the Duchess has fainted. He did say that they didn't marry for love, so she doesn't understand at all why he's so worried about this woman. If their contract lasts for 3 years, then their marriage will soon end. He would no longer have to be tied to someone who could not properly play the role of a duchess. Everyone says she's much better suited for the role. Because of such a wife, the Duke is shrouded in bad rumors. Under the pretext of poor health, she practically never appears in high society. She always looks around like a commoner. But Lady Rosalind is very graceful and self-confident. They say the Duke personally invited her to his capital. He also paid off all her debts, although he's not the type to be charitable. He seems to have fallen under Lady Rosaline's spell. Considering that 3 years later, they still haven't had a child, it's clear they're in a contract marriage and don't love each other. Aslan is too kind, so he simply could not turn away from the poor girl. If Rosalind continues to act, Helena's place may become her place. Jeanne was very glad that the lady came to her senses. She noticed that the gentleman was very worried because she had been ill for several days. Helena asked again. The maid noticed that he had been with her the whole time, but she had gone out briefly because Lady Rosalind had something important to tell him. He's with Rosalind. She seems to know why she's sick, but she doesn't want to admit it's time to go. The lady asked what day it was today. Tomorrow was her birthday. It's not Helena Laurestine's birthday, but Rayla Violet's. So no one congratulates her on her real birthday. The Duke promised that he would always do this from now on. Because he doesn't want her to be lonely, Helena wants to spend this last day with him. She didn't even know if she could afford to be a little selfish. Then she asked Jaina if she would help her wash and change, as she had something to ask Aslan. This was definitely the last time she knocked on the gentleman's door, and asked if he was in his room. Well, the servant said that the master had gone somewhere today. The mistress understood him. Helena also asked them to tell him that she wanted to talk when he returned. Through the window, she saw that he had returned, but he was getting out of the carriage together with Rosaline. She immediately hid behind the window. The deer asked what was wrong with Aslan, and thought there was someone there. The man noted that he had most likely imagined it, and would like to hear the continuation of her story. Rose Aylin noted that in that case they could have dinner together. A maid came to her and said that the master had conveyed that he was having dinner with Lady Rosaline today. Helena understood and noted that it seemed like he was very busy, and she had disturbed him. The lady asked me to tell him that everything is fine now, and that he should not worry. The girl noticed that the lady was so beautiful with her red hair and green eyes. It's like they were made for each other. That's why she's the main character. Rosalind met with the lady and was very glad to see her because she woke up. The girl said that she was very worried because she had been ill for so long, so she was wondering if the Duchess was feeling better. Helena said she was feeling better and was grateful for the concern. Rosalind remarked that it would be great if she could attend the ball yesterday. It was so much fun there. Helena didn't know what she was talking about. The girl explained that Aslan had been forced to go alone because she was sick. So Rosalind asked if she could take his place as his wife and keep him company. He happily agreed, and she had a wonderful time. He thanked her verbally for going with them today and gave her a new dress. Helena was surprised that it was today, and the girl confirmed that they went together and chose. He's so caring, she said so herself. But today is her birthday. In the novel, they quickly became close too. Rosaline filled the void that Helena, the fake wife, couldn't. The girl said that she was really just a minor character, so she said that she was happy for her. She was also grateful for helping Aslan. She then added that her body was still weak, so she wanted to rest alone today. Kind Aslan only felt sorry for her, so he promised this. She has no right to blame him for forgetting about her birthday, and saying then that he would never forget it and would always congratulate her. It's normal for a minor character to be forgotten as soon as the main one appears. Helena understood that he himself hadn't belonged to her in the first place. Now it was truly time for her to leave. Then he whispered in Rosalind's ear that he thought he had entertained her enough, and now she must give him the information she had promised. Helena remarked that it was a good day to leave. Today is her birthday, and the day their contract marriage ends. Aslan is too polite, and he could not be the first to ask her to leave. It would be better if she said goodbye to him herself. Aslan had been kind to her for the last 3 years, so she needed to thank him. She decided to knock on his door and was immediately allowed in. Aslan immediately understood who had come, and then I saw that it was his wife. He also noted that he heard that she had woken up. He was very busy yesterday and arrived when she was already asleep. Helena noted that she knew he had a lot to do, but she would like to talk to him. First, she must sit down because she still cannot overexert herself. 3 years ago, they signed a marriage contract on this very spot. Helena asked if he remembered the day they signed the contract with him. Aslan noted that he certainly remembered today was her coming of age, which meant their contract had come to an end. A servant ran into the room and announced that everything he had ordered was ready. Well, the master asked him to wait a little. Because he's talking to the lady. Helena said it wasn't worth it since she came to say goodbye. Helena is grateful to him for everything their contract will end, so today she will leave the mansion. Aslan asked her to stop and asked if he had done something wrong. If he offended her in some way, then he will fix everything and does not understand at all why she decided this so suddenly. Helena noted that there was nothing wrong with that. He had been very kind to her all this time, and she sincerely wishes him happiness. Goodbye. He tried to stop her, but Rosalind burst in and shouted that they would be late if they didn't leave now. The Duke asked her to stay a little longer because he wanted to continue their conversation later. If she is not happy with something, he will fix everything and also asks her to just wait for him a little. That's how it all ended. Helena had already said goodbye to her love. Preparing for departure didn't take much time since she didn't have much luggage. Helena was worried that Aslan might misunderstand everything, so she left him a letter. Well, I asked the lady if she was really leaving already, because the gentleman would be back soon. The mistress was grateful to Dalton for his concern. The maid asked her to tell her where to go, but the lady noted that this was not necessary, because Aslan would not want to know this. According to the information received, It was here Aslan asked what happened here. Rosalind repeated that she had said he was here, and that these were that person's personal belongings. It seemed they were a little late. The Duke thought he'd definitely find him this time. The first thing he did when he married Helena, 3 years ago, was send people to destroy the Laurestin family. It was easy for Count Laurestin, who with the help of his daughter, tried to get his hands on the Tortel family's railway business to go bankrupt. After the Count died after going on a drinking binge, his mistress Marisa and son fled like rats. After 3 years of pursuit, their tracks were spotted on Baron Faridot's property. They say Marisa seduced the Baron and spent all his wealth. Having lost everything, the Baron angrily killed Marisa and committed suicide, and Glock apparently escaped again, but it is not at all clear where he is now. They haven't been able to find out yet. And there are also rumors that the Baron's only daughter was Glock's lover. Glock escaped. Rosalind was sold for her father's long life. The Duke decided he had to get closer to her. If rumors spread that he had paid off all her debts and brought her to his capital, Glock would try to approach her again. That's what happened. He brought her to his mansion, and they were able to track the location of this guy who came to Rosalind. Aslan decided that he would not let him go again, so he ordered them to find him, because this time they must not let him go. He decided to take revenge on everyone who had wronged Helena. Rosalind just stood nervously to the side. Eris Station. This is Ellawood, a small and modest port village, the place where her real family lives. Thanks to Aslan, they've been exchanging letters for these 3 years. If they had discovered that she was not Helena Laurestin, but an ordinary commoner, Aslan would have gotten into trouble, so her parents went to live in a remote village. When the parents saw their daughter, they were in complete shock and even dropped everything they had in their hands. Rayla burst into tears when she saw her mother. Her brother quickly told her father that their daughter had returned, and they all cried together. The girl apologized for not visiting them all this time, but they didn't understand what she had to apologize for. They are so happy that she came back to them alive. The father cries more than the sister. The guy gave his sister their new home. Now it's their home. The Duke angrily asked why they didn't stop her when he read her letter. The man noted that he tried to dissuade the lady, saying that he would return soon, but she still left. It was a mistake, and he should have left her to me. Aslan couldn't understand how she could have ever thought he would be with Rosalind. Perhaps she overheard their conversation. There was a high chance Glock would meet Rosalind, so it was necessary to conceal Helena's affection for him. Having learned Helena's true situation, Glock could intimidate her, considering it her weak point. That's why the Duke deliberately fooled him and told Rosalind everything. The Duke tore up the letter. She must have gone to Ellawood. The master ordered everyone who was not involved in capturing Glock to be sent there and ordered them to protect the lady. Aslan said that he would go with them, so they needed to prepare a train to Ellawood. He wanted to give her this gift after he finally sorted out her past. It would mean that their 3-year arranged marriage was coming to an end, and the real one was beginning. From the very beginning, he had no intention of letting her go. 4 years ago, he started having a dream in which he was older than he is now, and in love with a girl. She, using his secret, forces him into marriage, and he, feeling betrayed, was forced to live with her for 3 years. But after 3 years, she leaves, and he suffers unable to forget her. So he died alone. It was just a dream, but it was so realistic. Aslan thought that these were things and a dream, but he did not believe in such things. He heard the girl's name in his dream, and immediately he found Helena Laurestin. It turns out that a girl with that name really does exist. She was in poor health, so she rarely appeared in high society. A girl whose name practically no one knew. With her blonde hair and elegant physique, she looks just like she did in his dream. If it was a prophetic dream, then there's some connection between them. And in that case, perhaps she knows about it too. Then he dropped his handkerchief, and the girl turned to him and told him to come back, because he had lost the thing. The moment he saw her face, all the feelings he had experienced in the dream came flooding back. And at that moment, when he first saw her in a dream, his heart was also pounding wildly. He couldn't let her go, so he prepared a perfect place. When he learned that Helena really existed, he became obsessed with her dreams. The outfit she was wearing in her dream, her scent, and her favorite flowers. Aslan began to hide everything that was somehow connected with her, and waited for the real Helena Laurestin. And here she is. She looks younger than in her dream. She was then very grateful to him for his kindness. She was much more beautiful than the Helena of his dreams. His heart was pounding. He was surprised because she had threatened him in his dream, and here she was, simply asking him to marry her. Then the girl decided to take advantage of that secret. She started coughing, and the gentleman thought she was in pain. The man asked her not to sit on the cold floor because she was caught in a downpour. Helena understood that she could not force such a kind man into marriage. It would be better for her to beg him, so she decided to tell him that Glaf Lorestine had kidnapped her, so she was asking for help. The Duke was in complete shock and couldn't believe it. The girl revealed that she wasn't Helena, but that her real name was Rayla Violet. He said he would kill her if she did not pretend to be his dead daughter when the Duchess died, leaving her the entire inheritance. This was the first time Aslan had heard of this. After all, in his dream, Helena had never spoken about herself. The woman admitted that she hit the water brother and ran away, remembering the thing he gave her. Helena felt very sorry that she was asking him for such a thing so suddenly. She seems to have completely lost her mind, but there is no other way but to marry him, and she is very sorry. She just gave him back his handkerchief, and now she's asking for something like this. He must be angry. Then the man laughed. He couldn't believe that in his dream, Helena Lorestine had proposed marriage to him for the same reason. Aslan did not hate her because she betrayed his love and twisted him around her finger, taking advantage of his weakness. But his love overrode this hatred and feeling of betrayal. He was never interested in knowing her real situation, until the day she left him. So this time, he finally proposed marriage. Aslan promised himself he wouldn't repeat that mistake. He asked her not to cry, because he would do as she asked. It's also very cold here, and first she needs to wipe away her tears, because she doesn't look very well. This will be his gratitude for the scarf she returned. After all, it was truly very dear to him. He says that he is ready to marry her for a simple scarf. Helena thought that he would get angry and throw her out, so she does not understand at all what is wrong with him. Aslan remarked that he was curious about something. He wanted to know what she would have done if he hadn't fulfilled her request. Since he lent her this thing, she would have sold it and run away as far as possible. Even though it wouldn't be easy, she would like to find her family. Aslan noted that this was a rather risky plan. She was very sincere compared to the Helena in the dream. Perhaps it's because they met a few years earlier. It's safer to stay here if she wants to meet her parents, and he can help her find them. The ambassador couldn't understand how he could remain aloof after hearing her story. He seemed so insensitive to me. It turns out that it was only out of pity that he was able to keep from throwing her out the door. Helena was very grateful to him and bowed. He really is very kind. From the very beginning, their relationship had been different. Her hair was still damp, so the gentleman asked her to dry off and eat. Then they would continue their conversation. A relationship in which they love each other without any hatred or misunderstanding. Helena promised she would never forget his kindness, so this time he will never lose her. All the servants were hanging around the mansion, and Rosalind decided to ask them what they were doing there. The maid reported that the master had urgently ordered everything to be prepared for his journey. Rosalind was surprised and asked where and what kind of trip the lady had left alone, and it seemed he intended to follow her. The girl didn't understand why at all, since their contract had come to an end, so she decided to ask Aslan why. The maid reported that the lady had not yet fully recovered, and the master must be very worried. Rosaline thought this was odd, since they'd already said goodbye. She thought Aslan didn't care about the marriage. Perhaps she was wrong, but Rosalind decided she couldn't allow the two of them to meet again. The mistress asked the servants to pack her luggage as well. The girl was in complete shock. Rosaline said she would miss Aslan if he went so far away, so she would go with him. Jean said it seemed the gentleman would be leaving very soon. Rosalind said everything was fine, since she didn't have many things. The girl said that she would inform the gentleman about this herself, so they should take care of her things. The lady left so suddenly Aslan was apparently just confused. Rosalind decided that Aslan would soon understand who really cared about him. Mom told Rayla to eat more, and her father called her brother to the table quickly. The girl was absolutely delighted because her mother had made chicken soup. The girl had missed it very much. Mom remarked that it certainly couldn't compare to the food in Loreston County, but she loved it as a child. Helena said there was nothing better than her soup, and the father noted that next time he would also prepare his signature soup. The brother turned to his sister and remarked that she had become so beautiful. Apparently, the Duke had taken good care of her. Helena confirmed this. Her father remarked that the Duke had been a great help to them as well. All this time they lacked nothing. My brother also noted that it was extremely difficult for them on the run, but their life improved as soon as the sister got married. Helena noted that Aslan, that is the Duke, was very merciful, and they all owed him money. The brother thought he was being so nice to her too. This embarrassed the sister a little. Mom also told Aiden to calm down a bit, and he said that he always wrote, "Dear mother-in-law, father-in-law," in his letters to her husband. It seemed as if they really had a son-in-law. Father said they were simply very grateful to him for being kind to her. To be honest, my brother already thought she wouldn't come back. Mom told him he was talking weird because Rayla would have come back to them. The guy said his sister also wrote only about Aslan, as if she really was in love with him. Her parents noticed her brother had a loose tongue. Even if she had problems with the Duke, everything was fine. They exist for her sake. They also asked their youngest son if he was also on her side. Helena was very grateful to them and noted that there were no problems. It's just that their contract ended, and she returned, because she didn't want to disturb Aslan. All these 3 years, she was unrequitedly in love with him. He must have forgotten about her by now, and is spending time with Rosaline. The girl thanked her mother for the food and noted that she would go unpack the luggage. The younger one asked my parents if they thought she left home after arguing with Aslan. His mother told him to pretend he didn't notice until she decided to tell him. The man said he had booked a train to Eris and told the gentleman to get off at the station and head towards Ellawood. She called Aslan. She remarked that she had heard that he was going on a journey. He'd be bored alone, so she'd go with him. She also remarked that it would be very interesting since he'd be traveling by train. Aslan turned and informed her that she did not have a ticket, and he thought she would not be able to go. Rosalind was very upset and tried to tell him something, but the gentleman ordered the lady to be escorted inside, as they had time to leave. He had to hurry, as he still needed to pack his things. Rosaline asked Jean when Aslan would return. The maid said she didn't know, since her master had left without saying anything. He will follow the lady, and she thinks that they will return when they have settled all her affairs. The lady asked if she was sorting through all her clothes, and Jana said that this was all she had. Rosaline said she needed new dresses. The maid was surprised that she didn't have enough of these and needed more. The lady asked if the money Aslan had given her had run out. After all, she could use it however she wanted. She can't meet a man tired from his journey in a nondescript outfit that she's already worn. She chose a dress and said she would take it. The man was grateful and remarked that she could come back to see them again. When she left the store, she noticed that someone was following her, and then she ran into him. The man remarked that she was lucky when she heard this voice. She realized that it was Glock Larestine in front of her. They say she revealed his location to the Duke. He began asking about their past. She betrayed him. Rosalind pushed the man away forcefully and shouted that she didn't understand what past he was talking about. When her father died and she was sold, he ran away, leaving her alone. Glock noted that he was very sorry there was nothing he could do in this situation, but she did hand him over to Duke Tortle. He seems to treat her well. He wondered how much money she had on her somewhere right now, but the girl screamed at him not to even touch her. Glock added that apparently, having become the Duke's mistress, she thought a lot of herself. The guy added that she should not forget that he could reveal her secret at any moment. 2 years ago, the lands of Faridot. She was growing tired of the monotony of rural life when suddenly he appeared. The new groom my father hired. The boy remarked that he hadn't even known such a beautiful girl lived in Faridot. This wonderful man won Rosalind's heart. While the father was busy gambling, he completely forgot about his daughter, and their relationship became serious. After some time, she found herself pregnant. Rosalind said that her father would kill her if he found out, so she doesn't understand at all what to do. Her father would kill her if he found out, but Glock told her to wait. He assured her he would take responsibility. Well, when the father, having lost his property stabbed, Marissa Glock, frightened, ran away. Soon, her father committed suicide, and she lost her child, and then sold to pay her father's debts. Aslan appeared before her. He was willing to pay off all her debts only on one condition. If Maurice's son came to her, she must inform him. He's afraid this dangerous man might harm her too. A handsome young duke who's also kind and rich. His wife was often ill and too shy, so her reputation in society was not so good. Rosalind thought she could easily replace her. Besides, if they were just in a contract marriage, it was obvious that when she left, her place would belong to Rosalind. Glock asked her if she thought he would love her, even after knowing about her past. He didn't understand who would be happy about a girl who was pregnant with someone else's child. Rosalind screamed at him to shut up and slapped him across the face. She screamed at him to try saying such nonsense to Aslan. If he does this, she will kill him, after which the girl began to quickly run away. Rosalind didn't get up at all. What should she do if Glock told Aslan about her past? She hoped Aslan would kill him when he found him. He was trying to protect her, so he would accept her no matter what. Aslan's feelings. Rosaline still doesn't understand them. After all, he said back then that she wouldn't go with him. The girl had no idea what to do, Air Station. Aslan said that the lady would be scared if armed men came to her so early in the morning, so he would go first. They should sit here. The gentleman wondered if she was still asleep. He heard a woman's voice say that Rayla was already awake. Helena told her mother that she was already awake, but she was awakened by the beautiful singing of birds. Aslan heard Rayla's voice. The girl smelled the morning air. It was so nice and fresh. Rayla asked if her dad had made any for tomorrow. He told her to wait a little because it would be his signature soup. The girl remarked that this was wonderful. Aslan couldn't verify who it was that made her always smile so. Helena asked if she could help with anything. Her brother told her they needed to go gather herbs. Mom said that it was still cold outside, so they should dress warmer. It seemed to him that in Hertz, she was always sad and insecure. The brother pointed out that the latecomer would be responsible for the laundry. Helena yelled after him that it wasn't fair since he'd been the first one out. The Duke realized that she had never smiled so brightly in front of him. Helena is much happier now than when she was with him. Aslan didn't understand whether he could dare ask her to come back when she was smiling so brightly outside of him. Rosalind decided that when Aslan returned from his journey, she would be able to find out about his feelings for her. If he comes back with the Duchess, it means he still has feelings for her. And if he's alone, then he's definitely fallen in love with Rosalind Glock. Couldn't resist her either. The brother was telling his sister that she was tearing off these loose leaves. But suddenly, they heard some sound. Aiden had no idea who could be there so early in the morning. Helena couldn't believe it was Aslan standing before her. It was Hans. He greeted us and said he had brought the morning newspaper. The brother told his sister that this was Hans, their postman, and tried to introduce them. The guy noticed that she was so beautiful, so she said he was glad to meet her. The girl also greeted him with a smile and did not understand how she could have thought that it was Aslan, because this would never happen. Aiden told Hans not to look at her sister as if she was married. The guy was surprised, but the girl said that she was no longer married, or rather, she was, but had recently divorced. The postman apologized. Helena said he had nothing to apologize for. Helena herself realized that she needed to stop thinking about Aslan because he had already been too kind to her all these 3 years. It's time to stop fooling ourselves and hoping for hope. Helena said everything was fine, and on the contrary, she felt better. Hans remarked that in that case, he was glad Helena was grateful for the concern Aiden told him not to look at his sister anyway. The Duke considered her words about her feeling better, and her brother said his sister had high standards. Mom noticed that it had gotten colder outside, so she didn't quite understand why they were walking for so long. Helena told her mother that she wasn't cold at all, so she shouldn't worry. And her brother said that someone had brought them a newspaper. Mom said she was just afraid that her beloved daughter would catch a cold. Helena remarked that she thought she was still a child, and Mom said Dad was waiting, so they should go quickly. Aslan realized that beside him, she only suffered in her dreams. Helena cared for no one but him. She never talked about her family hobbies or her friends. She was always following him around, trying to win his love. Could it really be because of this? Aslan thought she'd be happier if he were kinder to her than you were, if he shows his feelings, but he never asked if she was happy. And does she want to return to her family? Although living under a false name, relying on her husband won't make anyone happy. The master told them to stay here and protect the lady, and if anything happened to report it to him immediately. The servant asked what was going on with his master. Aslan said he would finish one thing and then return. Rosaline was shocked when she heard the servant say that Aslan had returned. Jana confirmed this, after which the girl asked if the lady had arrived with him. The maid said that this was not true because for some reason he arrived alone. Rosalind was overjoyed and ran off immediately. She knew it was all over between them. First, he must return Helena's real name, and he must not allow her to be separated from her family. And to do that, they had to hurry and catch Glock. Rosalind ran up to him overjoyed that he had returned. The girl said that she was so worried that he would return wounded because of the Duchess. Aslan was surprised by this. The lady said that the mistress, under the pretext of her health, asked her to take care of him. Although he was so kind to her, Aslan didn't quite understand what this woman was talking about. Rosalind said that the next day she asked her to take care of him. She even said goodbye, wishing her good luck. If she'd loved him even a little, she wouldn't have said that. Aslan thought for a moment and realized that the day after the ball was her birthday. She promised that they would spend this day together every year. The reason she could give it to Rosalind. He told the girl that she had better go shopping alone, today. He had plans with the Duchess. Rosalind said that she met the lady on her way here, and she said that she was not feeling well, so she would rest alone. Rosalind asked him to spend the day with her if his plans were cancelled. She said she needed time to tell him about Glock, so just as she'd wanted, he took her to the ball. And Aslan thinks that he has already had enough fun with her. Now she must tell him the promised information. The Duke realized he had made one mistake. The gentleman asked whether Jean had been with her mistress that morning, and the maid confirmed this. Aslan said he had plans with the Duchess, so he told the lady to go shopping alone and asked if this had been conveyed to the lady, to which the maid said no. She had apparently heard that they had gone to buy new dresses, in gratitude for her being with him at the ball. Rosaline said that it seemed the maid was mistaken about something, but the Duke told her to stop. He said it was all his fault. Rosalind didn't understand anything at all. He shouldn't have let her behave as she pleased, and apparently he was too kind to her. He ordered Lady Faridot sent to Amber's house. If Glock Lorestan attempted to approach her, he was to be seized immediately and sent to him. As soon as they capture him, they must immediately drive out Lady Faridot. Rosalind had no idea what he was talking about, and the Duke told them not to let that girl get close to his wife. Sir, but he told her to go away and not bother him. He would give her time to pack her things. The servant told the master that the guards who remained in Ellawood sent a telegram. Mr. Violet left the village to buy some fever reducers. His wife is in poor health, and she apparently caught it just here when she left the house on a cold morning. The Duchess seemed to have a fever. They had to send their physician to Ellawood immediately. But he immediately said that it would be strange if he simply stated it. It would be better for him to go there with the doctor. Aslan said they were leaving immediately, so they had to get everything ready. The servant noted that it had taken the master all night to get here, so he suggests he at least get some rest, even if it's just something to eat. The gentleman says he'll sleep on the train. The health of the Duchess is above all else, the servant understood, and the master immediately left. Mom repeated that she had already said that she needed to dress warmer. Her father pointed out that he had brought strawberry-flavored cold medicine, just like she liked, and she asked her to drink it and get a good night's sleep. Helena told them not to worry because she would be fine, because she was not a child. But still, it's so good that they're nearby. She must have felt bad without them. After all, she's their beloved daughter. Helena said that this was not so, because Aslan, that is, the Duke, took good care of her. Every time she was sick, Aslan was there. Even when she thought it was Jaina, it turned out that he was the one keeping an eye on her and not letting anyone into her room. Helena knew she couldn't miss him. The train was leaving soon, so they all had to hurry. The doctor was already on his way. The man heard that he was now without protection, so this was his chance. The doctor noticed him and shouted for the Duke to jump aside. But the Duke didn't make it in time and was hit by a car. He immediately fainted. He began to have dreams about seeing Helena, in which he asked what she said. The lady asked him to marry her. After all, she knows what he is hiding. Aslan asked what it was, and the girl said that his mother had killed his father. And he disguised everything as if it were an accident and hid the mother in the monastery. Aslan didn't understand what he was talking about, and the girl said she wouldn't torment him for long. 3 years. He should marry her for only 3 years. After this time, she will leave him as if nothing had happened. The gentleman began to open his eyes and realized it was a dream. His head was splitting. The doctor was very happy because the master had come to his senses. Aslan asked where he was. The servant reported that a cart had run over him, and he was very worried that he would not come to his senses. The doctor shouted that he couldn't get up, but Aslan didn't quite understand what kind of accident this was. The servant said that he was going to the station to go to the mistress, and asked if he remembered about it. Aslan didn't quite understand which lady he was talking about. The servant didn't understand him either, and the man said that he was not even married, and did not understand who he was calling mistress, and thought that he was talking about his mother. Aslan noticed that he had grown up a lot, and the servant in horror asked the doctor what was happening. The doctor believed that perhaps he had lost his last memories due to shock. The doctor apologized to the gentleman and asked if he could tell him how old he was now. Aslan said he was 20 years old. I kept asking him if he remembered anything after turning 20. The Duke was in complete shock and did not understand what they were talking about. The gentleman asked if he was saying that he was married to this girl. I asked him if he remembered anything at all. This girl looked like the one he saw in his dream. He was the one who married her because of blackmail. Then asked what about their business. The servant didn't quite understand what the gentleman was talking about, that he was talking about the Tortle family's railway business. Could it really have gone bankrupt? They've almost taken over the Western branch, and business is growing much faster than he expected. He was the first to take over the Eastern and Northern lines, which not only increased the reputation of the business, but also the authority of the Tortle family. The Machette family, who dreamed of the Western line, must have been busy too. All the secrets are gone. He did say to refill them. The servant noted that he hadn't smoked for 3 years. The lady is in poor health. If she had smelled cigarettes, she might have become ill. Aslan was surprised, because in every case the lady was mentioned, he asked if they had a marriage by agreement. He saw documents that stated the contract period, and that it had recently expired. The servant remarked that it was all true, but the master didn't understand why he had married her at all, since she had a perfectly ordinary family. He had no idea what kind of duchess she was. The servant remarked that it was his personal decision, and they didn't know the details. It would have been better to treat her as his beloved wife than to show that she was threatening him. Apparently, only the servants knew about it. The servant suggested that perhaps he needed to meet with his mistress again to regain his memories. The gentleman asked if the servant had said that he had already gone to see her, but returned empty-handed. It's clear that there's no point in holding her back, but still the doctor said to communicate with those he knew so that the memories would return. Aslan heard from those he knew that another girl was staying in his house. Rosalind said it was such a relief that he woke up. She had been very worried about the accident. He ordered her to be sent to Amber's house and then kicked out. The girl wasn't sure that he had really lost his memory. Perhaps this was her chance, the girl remarked, that it seemed like a misunderstanding as her ex-boyfriend had contacted her. She thinks that he ordered it that way. I thought that she still had feelings for him. Aslan did not understand at all why this should make him angry, but the girl said that they loved each other. The Duke was surprised that he loved her, and Rosaline smiled and said that it was so, and asked if he remembered it. The girl pointed out that he had paid off all her debts and brought her to this mansion. He and the Duchess had only had a contractual marriage. Aslan said that for these 3 years they simply lived together without interfering with each other. It's vague to me, but I think he said it. The gentleman told her to continue. Rosalind added that because her ex-lover might harm her, he asked her to inform him if he came close. And he even tried to personally capture and discipline him when she told him everything he ordered them to find him, not to let him go. And this man's name is Glock Larestine. The gentleman noted that he seemed to remember, and he could do something like that. Aslan didn't quite believe he truly loved this girl. She had a pretty face. While there are problems, he thought he would never get married. And he can't believe he resorted to such immoral behavior. Aslan did not understand at all what he had done wrong, since she had met with that man in secret from him. Rosalind said that wasn't true, because her ex had found her himself and threatened her. He said he would spread dirty rumors about her, but she managed to escape. The gentleman asked Dalton if he could believe her words. The servant remarked that he did not know the details, but the reason he was angry was that the lady had not treated the mistress properly. But he always put his mistress above all else. Aslan didn't want to believe it, because she herself had left him. He had to threaten her, because she knew his weak spot. He even left the guards with her, and left alone. Probably so that they would watch, so that she wouldn't tell his secret foreign that he didn't get rid of her right away, but lived with her all these 3 years. There was a reason why he couldn't touch her, and he can't act rashly until all the memories come back. He doesn't know if he really met this girl, but he thinks that he will remember everything if he talks to her. He said it would be best for Lady to stay with him for now. He hadn't yet remembered everything about her, but the memories would return if she stayed close. So he asks her for help. Rosalind didn't mind and agreed with a smile. She succeeded. Helena's fever had dropped, and her father congratulated her on her recovery. Her mother said it was wonderful, and her brother said he knew his sister would cope. Helena said that she had already told them that it was just a common cold. The father suggested that his daughter celebrate her recovery with something tasty, and the mother suggested going to the center and buying something there. The girl said that she didn't need anything, in which case her mother decided to offer her a cup of warm tea. And Dad was supposed to bake an apple pie. My brother was looking at the newspaper and shouted that there had been an accident at the central station. Helena asked him to let her see it. It was next to Aslan after all. When she looked at the newspaper, the cup fell from her hands. Her mother asked if she was okay and if she was hurt. And with him, you understood what was wrong with her. The newspaper said Aslan had been in an accident. Mother was surprised when she heard what had happened to the Duke, and father asked if he had been badly hurt. Aslan Tortle, the head of the Tortle business, did not leave his house for several days and was probably seriously injured. Helena had no idea what to do or how it was even possible. Tears welled up in her eyes. Mom suggested that she go and see him if she was so worried. Helena was in complete shock when she heard this and said that she no longer had anything in common with him. Her father pointed out that she could just come visit. After all, they'd lived together for 3 years, and it was normal for them to worry about each other. The girl wondered if she should go and see Aslan again. Rosalind said that she put on the dress he bought and went to the ball with him. Everyone said that the atmosphere was much more luxurious because she came with him instead of the Duchess. Rosalind asked if he remembered this. The gentleman was surprised, as he didn't remember anything like that. The girl said that he told her not to deny herself anything while she lived there and gave her a lot of money. Sometimes they spent time alone, and he was very worried about her. Aslan apologized and said that he didn't remember such a thing, and he didn't have such feelings even when looking at her. It's her that she is, until his memories return. The Duchess left anyway. He won't throw her out the door if she loves him for herself. Rosalind told the gentleman that everything was fine, and she understood him, and he didn't need to rush, because she'll be there. Aslan couldn't pretend his delicious woman had changed so much. He doesn't understand why he let such a girl get close to him. He was never interested in that type. If he had fallen in love, she would have been different. Simple and innocent, just like that girl in the portrait. The gentleman asked the butler to come in, and then asked what had happened to the person responsible for the accident. He was wearing a mask when he ran away, so they couldn't identify him. This surprised Aslan. There is a high probability that someone hired him, and because he did not go outside, rumors about his accident spread everywhere. And they started talking about how he was suffering from the divorce, because the lady was not in the mansion at the moment. Aslan noted that this could drive him crazy. The company's shares would plummet in value if he left things like this. Rosaline turned to Aslan and asked if he would like to go out to lunch with her, because she doesn't know what better way to show off her good health than by walking with a young girl. The Duke remarked that this was a good offer. In any case, it would soon become known that he was divorcing his wife, and he will thus save himself from problems if he shows that he has a new girlfriend. So he asked the lady if she would go for a walk with him. Helena said she could go on her own, but her father said she wouldn't allow it, because she might get kidnapped again, and if someone recognizes her, they should just say that he is carrying her luggage. Her true identity could not be revealed, so he began calling her Helenas. So she came to the center. Aslan must have no more care for her, but she can't take it anymore because she's so worried about him. She'll just look at him from afar and leave thinking that will calm her down. Rosaline got dressed and asked Aslan if he thought it was beautiful. The gentleman remarked that she fit well. The girl was very pleased and thanked him. Aslan suggested that she go to a jewelry store because she would look even more beautiful in the right outfit and jewelry. When they came out, people immediately noticed the Duke and were shocked that he was okay after the accident. And next to him is Rosalind. They say she's been living with him for a long time. That's enough to make rumors about his accident go away. Suddenly, they encountered Mrs. Helena. Rosalind tensed when she saw her. Helena was very upset when she saw that he was with her and didn't understand why she was in so much pain again. It was obvious. Aslan must be unharmed, although he looks a little pale. Well, why did she come back? If he sees her, his memory might return. So Rosalind must do everything to ensure that they don't cross paths. Rosalind pretended to fall and said that she had tripped because her new shoes were a little tight. Her ankle hurts and she feels like she can't walk. The gentleman told her to hold on to his shoulder, after which he picked her up. Rosalind asked if it was okay that people were watching. Aslan said that they came out to show themselves to them, and in that case they would be sure that everything was okay with them. Rosaline decided to kiss him, and then Helena's world completely collapsed. Everyone started saying that they were such a good couple, and apparently it was true that they were dating. Aslan was completely healthy, and the girl realized that she didn't have to worry. Her father came up to her and happily said that he had bought waffles with strawberry filling. Helena said it was cold here, so she suggested he go inside and eat. True, he was fine, and she was glad about that. Her father said that if she was really cold, they should go inside quickly. Suddenly, Jean noticed her mistress and was very glad that she had returned. But Helena said that she did not return, as she simply had business in the capital. Maid Gavrila told the mistress that she should now return to the mansion because the situation had become urgent. Helena was surprised when she told her that Aslan had lost his memory. Jean said that the gentleman does not remember anything after 20 years, and Rosaline takes advantage of this to become his lover. The girl was surprised by this. She'd read the video the night before, and it seemed like they were already in a relationship. The maid had no idea what she was talking about, because that couldn't be true. Rosalind Faridot, this impudent girl, deceived her. When the master found out about this, he became very angry and ordered her to be thrown out. And when he heard she was ill, he rushed to see her taking his summer with him, but got into an accident. Helena couldn't believe this could actually happen. She didn't want to believe it because Aslan was irritated by their contract marriage. The doctor said that the gentleman must communicate with loved ones in order to regain his memory. They lived together for 3 years, and she was the closest person to him. The maid promised to take care of Faridot, and she asked her to meet her master. She hopes this will help him remember the past. Meanwhile, Rosalind asked Aslan if she was heavy. The gentleman noted that he did not know. She used to be lighter, but that was probably because of her clothes. The girl didn't quite understand what it meant before, and he asked if he often carried her in his arms. It's vague, but that's how he remembers it. She often fainted due to illness. Suddenly, a memory came to him, and he was very surprised and did not understand what it was. Aslan asked Rosalind to return first. He asked the guards to escort the lady into the mansion. The Duke himself said he had much to do and would go to his study. The servant remarked that he would await his return. I'm talking to Rosalind Faridot. He couldn't remember anything. Some scenes still pop up, but they seem to be unrelated to her. His servant approached him and informed him that the Duchess had arrived. He was surprised to hear this, but he ordered her to be let in. When he saw her, he remembered how she told him that she loved him. She also asked him to look at her and not at Rosalind Faridot. Feelings and memories merged. The gentleman doesn't understand when and what happened. Everything was very mixed up in his head. Helena was scared because he was so pale. She started asking if he was okay. She came closer. She noticed that his face was red and he had a fever. She tried to touch him, but he pulled his face away. In his memories, this girl threatened him and forced him to marry her, and also lived together for 3 years. But for some reason, looking into her eyes, he felt that he loved her. The gentleman noted that their contract had ended, so he did not understand at all what brought her here. Helena asked him if he remembered her. Her name is Helena Larestine. The Duke almost went crazy as memories flooded him, but he couldn't remember anything about Rosalind Faridot. He became very curious about who this girl was to him. Helena heard he'd been in an accident and lost his memory. He broke out in a cold sweat. Could he really be sick? To regain his memories, he was told to communicate with loved ones from his past. Even though they had a contractual relationship, maybe she could help him. Aslan cannot hide his emotions because of the overwhelming feelings. Aslan can't think of anything else but to hug and kiss her. The man thought he had gone completely crazy. He might have injured his head in the accident. The girl asked if he was okay. He immediately went into a defensive stance, which was dangerous, as he couldn't reveal his weak spot as she was threatening him. He couldn't let her manipulate him again. So the gentleman asked who told her he'd lost his memory, and he believed that she came to him only because of rumors and expected that she would be able to live at his expense. Elena lowered her head and said that she didn't come for this, but was simply worried about him. This girl threatened and used him, and that was not enough for her. She also coveted his heart. But why was he so sad to look at her tears? My heart felt like it was about to stop. Suddenly, a servant entered the room and announced that Lady Faradot had arrived. The Duke allowed her to enter, and Helena was surprised that she had come there. The girl burst into the room screaming and started saying that there was something wrong with his face and asking if he was okay. She said that he hadn't recovered yet, and she was worried that he would feel ill while working, so she came. "I'll rest a bit, her ankles are feeling better." The man knew that next to this girl, even his heart wasn't fluttering. She became so calm, he already thought he was going to die. Judging by his reaction, he hasn't fully recovered his memory yet. We need to get him to kick Helena out and never see her again. Rosalind angrily asked her why she even came, since Aslan said that their relationship was over. The woman said that she had been taking advantage of Aslan's kindness for 3 years, so she couldn't understand how she had the nerve to show up here. She believed that this woman missed luxury and the good life, and was pestering him again, exploiting his feelings. She had no conscience at all. Rosalind shouted at her to leave immediately and never come back, and the girl told Aslan to sit down and rest. Helena cried and left. Elena considered herself a fool. She did not understand at all what she was expecting when she came here. She believed that Jaina was mistaken, and that nothing connected them except the contract. A 3-year contract during which she only annoyed him. The father greeted his daughter with a smile and asked if she had spoken to the Duke. The girl confirmed this and noted that he said he was fine, so she suggested that he go home. She also noted that she needed to buy some kind of gift for Mom and Aiden and ask what they would take. Rosalind was right, and she shouldn't come to him anymore. She needed to stop missing him like a fool. The Duke has been moving a lot, so his condition has worsened and he needs to be given rest. Memories continued to surface in his mind after meeting Helena, so the gentleman began to wonder if he was happy when he lived with her. Aslan can't even imagine living happily with someone after his mother went crazy. Then he tried to calm her down, but his mother said that she had to kill him, and not just him, but everyone. Aslan asked his mother to let go of the knife, but she screamed at him to move away because she would kill him. His mother lost her mind, and he had to lock her up in a monastery. He made his father's death look like an accident. Perhaps that's why he had no interest in girls at all. He lived completely immersed in work, but a girl appeared who blackmailed him with a secret. Rosalind didn't understand if he was okay, because after they returned, he was constantly sleeping. His damaged brain and mind are recovering. Perhaps if he gets a good night's sleep, his memories will return. Rosaline didn't want to believe that his memory could return after meeting the Duchess. "I dream about this girl again. He's in the monastery where his mother lives. His mother's funeral. He and you were surprised that his mother died in a monastery." Helena cried too, and said that Grace could now leave in peace. She wouldn't be hurt anymore. She cries louder than the master, so he was surprised that she was close to his mother. Although she is not the first beauty, she is very elegant and neat. Beautiful even in mourning clothes, he gave her a handkerchief and remarked that she seemed to need it more. He introduced himself as Aslan Tordel. The woman remarked that he looked nothing like her. Aslan noted that he often heard that he sounded more like his father. Helena said that his handkerchief was dirty, so she would wash it and return it later. Perhaps he fell in love with this girl because of the feeling of loneliness after the death of his mother. Sadness or loneliness? Any excuse will do. He doesn't want to think that he wanted to live with her. His wind blew in a strange direction. Then she told him to marry her, because she knows the secret he's hiding. His feelings for her have been twisted and tainted by her threats. This woman infuriated him, and he hurt her in every way possible, so that she would not realize that he was in love with her. She asked him to look at her just once, and not at Rosalind Faradot. When she cried and begged him, he took pleasure. After rumors that he had proposed to Rosalind, Helena couldn't bear it anymore and left him. Aslan woke up, and Rosalind immediately ran up to him and asked if he was okay. In his dream he jumped, "I miss Helena." Rumors spread about his accident, and people started saying that he was suffering because of the divorce, because the lady was not in the mansion at the moment. The red-haired girl said that he needed to rest some more. Aslan didn't understand at all why he had gone like this. The girl didn't understand at all what was wrong with him. It seemed like an ordinary dream, but the feeling in it was too realistic. The fact that she wasn't there drove him to such despair. Aslan wants to find her and beg her to return to him, but he doesn't understand why he'd rather write that he went mad after his mother's death. Rozovan said that this wouldn't work, so she ordered to call a doctor. But the man grabbed her hand and said that there was no need to call anyone. The woman was surprised, and the gentleman decided that he couldn't show his weaknesses to anyone. He grabbed the girl and hugged her. With her around, he didn't feel the pain of those memories, so he's thinking about going back to his old self. He asked her if he'd proposed. The girl thought for a moment and said, "No, not yet." The Duke said that in that case he would do it now. Once he gets his divorce papers sorted out with his ex-wife, he wants her to marry him. The girl immediately threw herself into his arms and said that she was very happy. He doesn't understand at all why he was so sincere with this Helena, but he won't let her manipulate him anymore. Aslan decided that he would break all ties with her in order to come to his senses, and if he married Rosalind, then Helena would no longer appear in his life. The girl was very happy. It was just incredible. She was so worried that he would drive her away when he remembered everything, but he asked her to marry him. Helena heard talk that Duke Tortle was getting married again. Someone heard that Rosalind Faridot contacted the best wedding dress designer from the capital. It looks like they are getting a divorce from the Duchess, and apparently, as soon as the documents are approved by the court, they will hold a wedding ceremony. Everyone just can't believe it because he loved his wife so much. In the end, everything turned out just like in the novel. No matter how hard Helena tried, she couldn't change her fate. A servant asked her master if he really would marry Lady Faridot, since he hadn't yet completely divorced the Duchess. Aslan asked if he had any documents with her signature. He asked her to repair the torn parts and bring them to him. He doesn't want to see the one he calls Duchess well. As I said, his memory still hasn't returned, and because he's in such a hurry, he might do something wrong. Aslan turned to the butler and said he didn't understand who had given him permission to interfere with his decisions. He might have been like that before, but he wouldn't allow it anymore. The man apologized and said that he needed to know which banquet hall he wanted to hold the ceremony in. Aslan asked where he'd done this the last time. With his ex-wife, he'd done it in the largest churches in the capital. Aslan was surprised that it wasn't in a monastery, and his butlers weren't quite sure what he meant. He thought his wedding was at the monastery where his mother had died, but the butler had no idea what he was talking about, because his eldest mistress was still alive. This greatly surprised Aslan. The servant noticed that her health had become weaker, but she was still alive. The Duke asked where he had met Helena. They had met at a banquet, and then the lady had come to see him. That same day, they decided to get married. Memories began to come to him. Helena asked him to help her in the form of Count Larestine, kidnapping her. He remembered. Even though these are small fragments, he begins to remember. Then he has no idea what this monastery scene was that he saw in his dream. Perhaps this was just a dream, and it turned out that Helena Larestine did not threaten him. The butler asked what was wrong with his master, and he immediately ordered them to stop preparing for the wedding. Because he needs to check something. His father was a real devil. Mom begged him not to hit Aslan and not to touch him. She was ready for him to hit her. Since childhood, he had one goal: to kill his father and become free with his mother. At 18, he had the perfect plan to kill his father and make it look like an accident. By the time my father found out about him, he was really angry that this bastard wanted to kill him. Father called to say they'd wait and see who would die first. Mother told Aslan to apologize to father, but Aslan broke free from his hands and said that freaks like him needed to be killed. He wished his father would die. The Duke was very angry with him. He shouted that he had given him life and raised him, and he was so ungrateful. He grabbed a knife and shouted that he would give him a funeral today. He was about to kill his son, but his wife hit him from behind, thus saving her son. She immediately fell to her knees and said that she was wrong, but silently, so that he would not hit them. She screamed at him not to kill Aslan. If he touched her son, she would finish him off. Mom lost her mind due to shock and couldn't tell her apart from Dad. She screamed that she had to kill him, otherwise he would kill her son. He was attempting to kill his son. Every time he came to the monastery, her mother would have a fit and go crazy. He could no longer visit her. According to the doctors, there was no improvement from that day on, and she never saw him again. But he's sure she's still alive. News comes from the monastery periodically. In that case, those memories were just a dream. And perhaps he really did marry Helena for love. Rosalind knocked on his door. The gentleman allowed her to enter. She noted that she heard that he had suddenly put the wedding preparations on hold. The gentleman told her that he needed to check something. And by the way, this applies to her too. He did tell her that he had an arranged marriage with Helena, and they've been living together for 3 years now. The girl happily confirmed this. It's vague, but he remembers it, and he definitely said it. A contract stipulating that they wouldn't bother each other for 3 years. If Aslan really loved Helena, then he doesn't understand at all why he lied about it. Rosalind was somewhat uneasy, having been led to believe that his memories were returning after his meeting with the Duchess. If he remembers everything, he'll kick her out again. Come to think of it, she'd heard his mother had been recovering in a monastery for a long time. The girl said that he had told her for sure that he had not married the Duchess out of love, and that they had a contract marriage, so even his mother was not invited. Count Larestine was against this marriage, and therefore did not come. But his mother did not join the ceremony for another reason. True, his mother was not there because he tried not to see her. When letters arrive from his mother, he yearns to go and meet her. He recalled his wife asking him what he was reading, but Aslan said it was nothing. The girl remarked that it was a letter from the monastery and seemed to be from his mother. Still, he said that it was so, and she congratulated them on their engagement and apologized that due to her health, she could not be present in person. In the novel, his mother, due to mental problems, did not see her son until her death. Helena suggested that they go to the monastery together and greet her, even though they were not a real couple. Aslan said that this would not happen because his mother did not want to see him, and they were not on the best terms. Aslan would like to hide everything that concerns his mother, so there is no point in asking. Helena said that in that case, he might not speak, but she would pray for him and his mother. She didn't use his secret against him. She didn't ask him about anything, she just stayed close. Aslan decided he had to meet her. Rosalind wasn't quite sure what that meant. The gentleman turned to her and said that they would postpone their wedding until he remembered everything he thought, that he could not make such an important decision in this state. He immediately called the butler and told him to buy him a train ticket to Ellawood. It seemed he should meet Helena after all. The man happily agreed. Rosalind shouted at Aslan not to do this, because his condition had worsened significantly since their previous encounters with the Duchess, and she's worried that it will happen again, so he shouldn't rush, but rather get some good rest and recover first. Aslan noticed that when he is near him, no feelings or emotions arise in him. He is completely calm. That's why he's sure he never loved her. Rosalind was in complete shock. He doesn't know why he brought her to his home, but he is sure of one thing. She won't help him regain his memory. He had asked to send her to Amber's house, so he ordered the servants to do so. Rosalind shouted at him that she had said it was a misunderstanding. The gentleman said that whether it was a misunderstanding or not, he would decide this after he remembered everything, and he apologized to her if he was wrong. He ordered her to be sent away. The butler would buy a ticket for the next train and ask the servants to prepare the luggage as soon as possible. The woman tried to stop them, but they took her away. Aslan still can't figure out what's true and what's false among what he remembered. For now, his head is so confused that he can't decide anything. He's only sure of one thing. All his memories are connected with Helena Larestine. He was happy. Whenever she was near, he felt it. So Aslan decided he had to meet her to find out everything. Rosalind asked everyone to wait, but was surprised that they all left, leaving her alone. She thought someone should serve her. We couldn't figure out how she would live alone. Rumors have it that the master asked me to look after her, and they will be busy preparing the room of the mistress, who will soon return. Razorin had no idea what to do now. She was utterly terrified and left alone. Helena was already awake. Quite early, Mom thought it looked like she hadn't slept all night. We decided to ask if she could meet the Duke father said they had, but there seemed to be some misunderstanding. She looked like she was about to cry, but I have Duke Tortle who would make her cry, so it's not at all clear what happened. My father also thought so, and noted that it seemed like this was something more than just a simple quarrel between spouses. When she lived with Aslan, she wrote that she was happy with him. She seems to like living with Aslan more than with them. Mom said that's how it is with everyone when they get married. And I was shocked that he was upset. Mom, though, is glad she wanted to live with them after being separated for so long. But she doesn't understand how she can watch her daughter suffer without forgetting Aslan. Her father believed she shouldn't suffer. Helena thought about his words when he asked her from whom she learned that he had lost his memory. It was the first time Aslan had spoken so rudely to her. If such a kind man could be so angry with her. So that's what he thought about her all these 3 years. But she like a fool didn't notice this, and she was mistaken that he could love her. Helena considered herself a complete idiot. She was ready to never be so mistaken again. The Duke was surprised when he saw the village where Helena lived. His servant noticed that it was she. Even the village station is clean. The servant remarked that he had personally arranged the station. Aslan was surprised to hear this. The servant added that he'd heard that on his personal orders, even in such a small village, the rails had been lowered and a station had been built. The gentleman did not understand at all why he was doing this and thought that it was again because of that girl. Aslan asked where she lived. Meanwhile, Helena was embroidering, and she pricked her finger. She remembered Aslan telling her to be careful because those beautiful fingers shouldn't bleed. She considered herself a fool for even thinking such a thing. Aslan had only been so kind to her out of pity. Deep down, he must have thought she was shameless and annoying, and she didn't even know it. Suddenly, her brother called her. He ran into the room, all excited, and the girl didn't get up, wondering what was going on. Aiden shouted for her to come out quickly, because Aslan, that is the Duke, was there. Helena was in complete shock and asked what he was talking about. She ran to the window and looked at him. Their eyes met. The girl didn't understand why he was there, so she asked him what brought him here. Aslan was shocked with you that she got hurt and said that she should be careful because blood should not come out of her beautiful fingers. Elena said that this was not so and began to fall on him because she caught her foot on the steps. The gentleman grabbed her in his arms. He apologized because his body moved on its own. It seemed unlike the head that it remembered everything. Helena didn't quite understand what he was talking about. Aslan reported that his wife had injured her finger. He was asking for ointment and bandages. Mom told him to go ahead because she would bring everything now. The father asked her brother to bring the first aid kit, and the guy immediately quickly went and said that he would come soon. Helena asked if he really didn't remember anything. Because of the accident, he doesn't remember the events of the last 5 years and doesn't know how he met her and got married, and why their marriage had ended so abruptly. Now Helena understood that the maid had told the truth. He was very cold because he couldn't remember her. He bandaged her finger. Helena realized that this meant that he had been kind to her for the last 3 years after all. Aslan said that he wanted to ask her for help and asked her to explain to him in detail what kind of relationship they had and why she left him. Helena told him that they had a contract whereby they pretended to be married for 3 years, and that the contract ended this year, and he just happened to have a girlfriend. True, Rosaline is his love, not Helena. He loved her even before he lost his memory. She almost got caught again. She was really tired of these strange thoughts. The girl decided she would never make that mistake again. She said their contract was over, so he didn't have to worry about her anymore. Besides, there is a man in the capital who is waiting for him, so she asks him to return to her. Aslan noticed that she was much thinner than he remembered, and her complexion was somehow pale. He believed that she was unwell, or that she was not eating well, or perhaps not getting enough sleep. Helena said she was fine, but suddenly she started coughing violently. The Duke took a mug of water for her and asked her to drink. Now he remembered that she was in poor health, and she often coughed. As soon as it got cold outside, she immediately fell ill. Aslan remembers everything only when he is near her, but without her, his memory never returns. He would like to live here with her for a while. Helena was in complete shock. If he was near her, his memory would return faster because they were already a married couple who lived in the same house. The girl began to dissuade him because, as she had already told her, they weren't a real couple. With us, the gentleman said, "It doesn't matter to me whether I'm real or not. He must remember everything, but for this, he needs to be near her." Aslan knelt before his mistress and asked her to help him and allow him to stay. Meanwhile, Rosalind was trying to make something of herself. She was thinking about selling some clothes to buy firewood, and she'll need to buy some food. She tried asking her friends for help, but none of them helped her. These women said, "Just look at her," because this village brat without shame stuck to a man who already had a wife. Now she realized that they had been kind to her, only to restrain Helena. Such an uneducated girl relies only on her appearance. She should be ashamed. After being expelled from the duchy, her position became even lower than Helena's. She considered all these people to be very vile. If she had been born into a better family, she wouldn't have been so pathetic. Suddenly, she heard someone enter. It was Glock. She stood up and became very angry when she saw him. Last time, she ran away so arrogantly, and it was his fault, so he doesn't understand at all why she's in such a desperate situation now. Rosalind said that there was no point in him threatening her now, because it was already obvious. She was exiled here, so she has nothing to give him. The guy asked why she thought she had nothing to give him. He scattered her things and noticed there was still a lot of stuff there. Glock picked up a precious stone. Mama Sophia was simply delighted that the Duke really liked it. Aslan remarked that the apple salad was simply magnificent. He had never tried anything like it before. Aiden told him they'd grown those apples themselves. The young man offered him some apple jam bread. He brewed it himself and said that the gentleman could feel at home and indulge himself in everything. If anything was wrong, he could speak up immediately. Aslan said that he cannot sit idle if they need help. Then please contact him. But Mom didn't understand what kind of work he was talking about. He'd rather spend time with his wife Helena, even felt embarrassed. Well, Mom said that the gentleman had come such a long way, so she should show him the house. My brother agreed with my mother, because it was a common occurrence. The girl was very shy and sat there blushing. Aslan noted that he would really like to walk around the house, and he was interested in looking at the place where his wife lived. Helena was shocked when she heard him call her and point out that they were no longer a couple. Her entire family asked her if the appeal was important, since the Duke was their family's benefactor. They probably lived together before, so there was absolutely no reason to be embarrassed. Helena had no idea what was happening to them. Aiden's parents said they'd get Aiden's room ready while they explored the house. His brother said he'd sleep with his dad. And then Aiden began to leave and wished the sweet couple a good rest. Helena finally made up her mind and showed them where they needed to go to inspect the property. This used to be her father's office, but now it's her room. Her father cleaned it out so she could live here. After all, you can see lilac flowers from the window of this room. Father said he looked at those flowers every time he thought of her. Aslan noted that they seemed to have a good relationship with the family. Helena noted that this was all because they decided to have their daughter at a young age. They lived apart for almost 10 years. The Duke didn't quite understand what that meant. She said that was exactly how it had happened and couldn't believe he genuinely didn't remember. At the age of 10, she was kidnapped by Count Larestine. When she escaped, she had nowhere to go. And the master took pity on her and married her, and then helped her start communicating with her real family. He believed that was why she called their marriage an arranged marriage. She didn't understand why, since he'd said he'd be married to her for 3 years. Until she comes of age, the gentleman became curious about what he would get in return. Helena said nothing, although she offered to give him all of Larestine's inheritance. But he refused the countess's property that she inherited was an insignificant sum for him. Helena remarked that this was probably true. Aslan asked if this meant she offered him nothing but wealth. Helena confirmed this and said that he was simply too kind, which is why he felt sorry for her. After hearing her story, he couldn't refuse her. After all, Aslan is a merciful and compassionate man. The man was not sure about this and said that he would never have thought that people would talk about him like that. The girl was shocked and asked what it meant. Aslan is a businessman who does everything for profit, even doing charity work to maintain his image. And the Duke never does anything out of sympathy. Helena said that wasn't true, because he was very kind to her. Even though they were just a fake spouse, he always took care of her. She had been happy for all these 3 years. Aslan noted that this meant only one thing. It seemed he loved her very much. Helena was in complete shock. The gentleman noted that there was no other explanation for this, since from birth, he had never been kind to anyone unless it was beneficial. The girl said this couldn't be true, but he assured her that she was the one who couldn't give him either money or fame. But he still tried to make her happy, and that meant her very existence. It was very valuable to him. Well, the girl said that this couldn't happen, and she couldn't make a mistake again. The girl believed Aslan was confused due to his memory loss, so she said it was all wrong because their life together had been irritating for all 3 years. They married for love. Their contract contained no mention of love, and they agreed not to bother each other for 3 years. The gentleman suggested that she seemed to be talking about his conversation with Rosalind. Helena remarked that this was true, and that was exactly what he had told her. They had lunch together when she was ill. He even spent her birthday with this woman. He may not remember, but the one he loved was Rosaline. The Duke said he didn't know why he said it then, as not all of his memories had returned. But he remembers the moment when he said this to Rosalind Faridot, and these words meant nothing to him. During the 3 years that their contract lasted, they promised to love each other, so he was irritated because during all this time, she never once said that she loved him. Although he made her happy in marriage, he never asked her to spend her whole life with him. Helena had no idea what he was talking about. He was surprised that he had never told her he loved her. The girl said that it was so. The Duke asked if it was not in words, but in body. Helena didn't quite understand what he was talking about, but when she did, she shouted that they had never shared a bed. Although they slept together several times, it was only because they thought the servants suspected something. But other than that, they never shared beds, never even held hands. The gentleman remarked that he held his own well. Apparently, he gave up until she proposed herself. He had never confessed his love to girls and was probably embarrassed. The lady couldn't understand why he was talking such nonsense. Elena decided she shouldn't expect anything. After all, she didn't want to step on the same rake again. She started to walk away from him, saying it was a misunderstanding, and he couldn't judge sensibly because he'd remembered everything. She won't keep his hopes up or expect anything, not this time. When his memory returns, he'll realize he got it all wrong. Aslan noted that this was possible, so he should stay with her longer. Since he will be able to get his memories back, he asks her to allow him. The father and his son were preparing food. Aslan had already been in their house for 2 days and was also helping them. He fit right into their family. He'd ask Sophia if he'd kneaded the dough enough, and the woman would say the Duke was doing just fine. The gentleman noted that another friend was needed so he could bring one. Sophia was very grateful and asked her daughter to help the gentleman. Helena wasn't quite sure how she could help him, so she was at a loss. He'd be bored alone, so he suggested they go with him. Mom noted and said that they could take their time and spend time together. The girl was shocked that Duke Tortle knew how to chop down a tree. He does housework so well, even though he's never done it before. Aslan remarked that chopping wood was like practicing with a ball, and Helena later said that he was a good cook too. The man said that he was only repeating after someone else, and that he was not given anything difficult to do. Suddenly, a servant approached them and announced that he had brought him comfortable shoes and clothes. The gentleman was grateful because the clothes he lent him were too small and therefore uncomfortable, and he also asked if there was any news from the center. Because he's on vacation, Dalton is temporarily taking over his duties. All is well at home. The master said he could go. The servant asked him to call if he needed help, and in the meantime, he would go help Mistress Sophia with the dough. Helena asked him if Lady Rosaline was waiting for him at home. After all, that's exactly what she thought. The girl remarked that if she found out that he had been staying in his ex-wife's house for so long, Aslan pointed out that they were still officially married. Helena was shocked as she'd left the divorce papers behind when she left. The Duke started changing his clothes right in front of her and said he had torn them. Selina was very embarrassed and turned away, asking him why he did that. The gentleman said that because he had no intention of divorcing her, and Rosalind Faridot was his beloved. Aslan doesn't remember yet why he brought her home, but the one he loved was his wife. Even now, he wears this ring for the past 3 years. Aslan has never taken off his wedding ring, but she heard rumors when she returned. She heard people saying that the ring the gentleman was wearing had another girl's name written inside it. They heard that the name was similar to the name of a flower, which meant it read Rosalind. This isn't certain, but they say it's not the Duchess's name. Helena was completely shocked when she heard that he could have something like that written on his ring. She realized he didn't need the truth, so Helena asked if he'd checked the name on the inside of the ring. Aslan was surprised to hear the name on the ring. The lady said that by looking at it, he would be able to understand exactly whom he loved. Aslan noted that she was indeed right and asked her to look too. Elena said he might not show it, or she might know Rosalind's name was there. But Aslan said it was Rayla. Elena was in complete shock and asked what he was talking about. Her real name here is Rayla Violet. If you take a quick look, you might confuse it with the name of the flower, and so these rumors spread. The Duke noticed that the more he listened to her, the more sure he was that he loved only her. She left her ring and went away, and it seems to me that there was no name on the inside of the ring. Helena noted that this was because they had an arranged marriage. Aslan understood everything because this marriage had hurt her pride, and he was very sorry. But all these 3 years, it seems Duke Aslan unrequitedly loved his wife. Helena, that is Rosaline. Helena screamed that this couldn't be, and began to deny everything in despair. The man said that because of pride, he could not confess, and lost 3 years. So she got upset and left him. Aslan promised he wouldn't be such a fool again, and he would change her feelings, until Rayla Violet falls in love with Duke Aslan Tordal as much as he does with her. The girl noticed that he had never said anything like that before, and was acting like a different person. She couldn't believe that memory loss could change a person's character. Therefore, she does not quite understand whether this is the same Aslan she knew. Rosaline screamed at him to stop because the jewelry, the dresses, even the shoes she was wearing. The girl sold everything to give him money, so she doesn't understand at all what else he wants. Glock asked her if she thought that this alone could truly satisfy him. The girl screamed that this was all she could give him because she had nothing else after all. Aslan had abandoned her too, so Rosalind can't give him anything to stop him threatening her. You asked about Glock. The guy asked her if she thought he'd come here to threaten her and get those pennies. Rosalind couldn't understand why he'd come here then. Glock noted that if they united, they could achieve a lot. These empty jewels will become nothing. Rosalind didn't quite understand what he was talking about. Glock called Rosalind Faridot his love, and kissed her hand and said that he would make her the Duke's wife. Aslan helped them with the housework in every way possible. Aidan was glad he got along so well with his sister. Aidan approached the gentleman and informed him that they had added cinnamon to the apple pie, and asked if he liked it. The Duke said they could just call him Aslan, and added that he loved and was also very grateful for the treat. The brothers shouted that if they needed anything else, they should call him. The girl couldn't stop thinking about his words, about making her fall in love with him. She still didn't respond to those words. Maybe he was confused due to memory loss. Aslan remarked that it looked delicious, so he told her to try it too. He must have lost his memory if he's offering her cinnamon pie. She doesn't like strong smells, so she won't eat anything with cinnamon in it. I know about this. Aslan always, when she was around, cleaned up food with cinnamon. Helena was grateful and remarked that perhaps she would try. But he took the plate away from her and noted that she didn't like that kind of food. A few days ago, she ate apple pie with pleasure, which means she doesn't like cinnamon. Aslan remembered that she didn't like strong smells, so he assumed she had a sensitive nose. Helena didn't understand at all how he found out about this, and assumed that his memories had returned to him. Aslan noted that this was not true because he had simply guessed. She'd looked at that piece of pie with such apprehension, judging by what she'd asked of his memory, he'd known about it before. Helena noted that this was true, and she was always surprised by this, as he had a very good memory and was always so caring. Aslan was surprised and asked again if she was talking about him. The girl said that once he heard the information, he never forgot it. The Duke noted that if it was important information, then it was, but he never remembered anything that didn't interest him. Aslan remarked that his wife must have been very important to him, since he even knew her tastes. He doesn't even remember the names of people connected with his business, and he often confuses their faces. Aslan believed that perhaps she was secretly hiding a lot of money from him. Serena was simply horrified and couldn't understand how this could be. After which the man remarked that in that case, he definitely loved her. It's a shame, of course, that his love was unconditional. Helena didn't even know what to say to him. The gentleman wondered if it was true she hadn't felt anything for him in the last 3 years. He was surprised that this had never happened. The lady did not know at all what to say, and began to deny it and mumble. Aslan had no idea he was so unattractive. If he had known, he would have gained experience since childhood and learned to seduce women. He apologized for rushing things, because from now on, he would study hard, so he was asking her for just one chance. Selena knew she didn't want to. Her foolish heart had to stop fluttering. After all, Aslan was simply confused, because he had lost his memory. So the lady said they would talk when he regained all his memories. He might change his mind after all. She started to leave, and Aslan was a little upset. The mother asked the girl if she had slept well, then asked her to wait. Breakfast would soon be ready. My brother was already sitting at the table, and my sister was asking him how he slept. Aidan asked her if she could ask her dad if they could eat meat today. Meanwhile, the gentleman came in and asked her if she had slept well. Aslan also noticed that the air was very cold in the morning and evening, so he wondered if she had frozen that night. Helena remarked that she was fine. The gentleman remarked that this was excellent, and added that he had chopped more wood, afraid she would freeze. The gentleman also said that he remembers that she was often sick, and he looked after her. The girl was embarrassed, but decided that she shouldn't pay attention to his words. Otherwise, she'll suffer again when his memory returns. They received a newspaper. Helena said she would come out. Aslan was surprised that she was wearing such clothes, but the girl didn't care. The Duke asked her to wait and tell the gentleman that he would borrow his clothes. He approached the girl and asked her to put the thing on herself. But Helena said that it was summer outside, so she wouldn't freeze. But Aslan said that she had recently been ill, so she should be more careful. The girl couldn't understand how he knew she was sick. The gentleman said he thought he'd heard about it, but Helena had no idea where he'd heard about it. Behind him, the boy called out to Rayla. The guy was completely red, and after greeting them, noted that they had a guest. Helena greeted Hans and thanked him for the newspaper. He remarked that there was no need for it. After all, he's only glad to meet her again because she still looks great today. Aslan asked him if he shouldn't have just handed over the newspaper and asked if he wasn't ashamed to get so brazenly close to the client. Hans was in complete shock and asked again what the gentleman meant. He doesn't argue she's great, but he doesn't understand at all why the hell he dared to approach his wife. Hans began to apologize as he hadn't known he was her husband. Helena had no idea what he was doing. Hans added that he was too tactless, so he walked away from there very quickly. The girl saw that the gentleman was very angry, and in horror, she began to ask him what he had done. The Duke did not consider it normal that he was flirting with a client at work, and did not at all understand what kind of negligent attitude to work this was. Elena didn't understand at all what the point was, or why he'd even bothered to intimidate him. He was swarming around his beautiful wife like a fly, so he couldn't just watch. Although he understands that looking at her beauty, it is difficult not to lose one's mind. That's why he didn't do anything. Elena couldn't understand how he could say such things without batting an eye. She assumed it was because he had lost his memory. He hadn't been like this before. When they lived together, he never scared away men who approached her. On the contrary, she was the one who was always jealous of him, because Aslan is the ideal man for all girls. Helena noticed that he had indeed changed, but the gentleman did not understand at all what she was talking about. The girl thinks that he is not the Aslan she knew, similar of course, but not the same. The Duke wondered what had changed in him. It was difficult to explain to her, so the gentleman asked if she could tell him in detail what he was like in the past. He was told that telling him about his past would help him regain his memory from the person who was closest to him. Helena noticed that he was very caring and kind, and she liked that he was always polite to others. During the lean season, he shared his grain and supported the poor and needy every year. No matter the circumstances, he always did it, but he never made it public. Aslan was shocked with what she calls kindness, and the fact that a businessman is involved in charity. And he regulated taxes just so that the imperial family wouldn't reproach him. The woman said that he could not pass by when he saw a person or animal in need of help because he was very compassionate. Aslan thought for a moment and remarked that this was truly unexpected since he didn't like animals and he'd never felt sorry for anyone. So that means he probably just wanted to look better in her eyes. It's not funny at all. You can see in her eyes that she considers him the best and kindest person in the world. Duke Tortle must have been simply very afraid of undermining her trust. If he pretended to be such a person for her, then maybe she fell in love with him too. If this is true, then the last 3 years have not been easy for her. Aslan said that she had been deceived because he had pretended to make her think so. Helena didn't quite understand what he meant. The guy said that in several years, his views could not have changed. He had put so much effort into winning her heart. Helena had no idea what he was talking about because he had to speak so recklessly to me because he still didn't remember anything. Aslan knows his true self better than anyone else. He is one of those who deceives others in order to achieve his goals. He spent these 3 years deceiving her because he was afraid she would leave. But still, he let her go. That's why he'll be sincere now. The gentleman is being honest with her, so he's interested in whether this upsets her. Helena always thought of him as a cool, confident man. But who is he? The man standing in front of her right now. Helena said that even if he didn't cheat on her, she would always consider him good. Aslan did not understand at all why his mistress thought this way. The girl said that someone who does good in order to appear better in front of their loved one should really be considered kind. Everything he did was done with care and respect for others. Aslan wondered if she now admitted that he loved her. The lady remarked that she said this because he called himself a bad person. All those 3 years, and even now, he remains a good man to her. After these words, the lady ran away. Aslan realized that if she believed it, he must have been incredibly happy loving her. Rosaline didn't understand at all how he was going to make her a duchess, because Aslan didn't love her. This man abandoned her, so she does not understand at all how this one is going to make her Aslan's wife. Glock added that he knew Duke Tortle's main secret. These words surprised the girl, and she asked. The guy replied that if she used it, she could become a duchess. After these words, Rosalind became curious about this secret. Glock called her closer to him, and then he asked if she knew the duchess's true identity. In fact, she is not Helena Lorestina. Rosalind was completely shocked and asked who she was. Then Glock pointed out that her real name was Rayla Violet. She's the daughter of poor people. The girl was completely shocked when she heard about it. At the age of 10, she came to live in the Lorestan household, as Helena Rosaline asked if Aslan knew about this. Glock confirmed this and said that because of this, secrets would work to their advantage. He doesn't know what about the Duke, but Rayla Violet will definitely not be okay. As she knows, the Duke cared very much about his wife and asked if she thought he would let her suffer. If used weakly, she could become the new duchess. Rosaline was delighted because she realized that she could really become a duchess. Glock said that to do this, his loved ones simply need to trust him. Soon, everything they have will belong to Glock Lorestan and Rosalind Faridot. Aslan saw that his wife was getting ready to go somewhere, so he asked where she was going. Helena said she had one thing to do, and would go out for a while and be back before dinner. The Duke asked if he could go with her too, but the girl refused. She noted that he had only recently recovered, so she thought it would be better for him to rest at home. Helena knew that if she went with Aslan, people might start talking about her. She said there was nothing interesting. She's just going to teach the children from church Polish. The gentleman was surprised and remarked that he didn't know she knew Polish. Helena noted that she had taught him before, but she didn't know him that well. The gentleman noted that her wife is too modest because she teaches the children the language, but says that the level is so-so. The girl noted that children are simply very smart and remember things well. Aslan said that he also knows Polish, so he could help. Of course, she knew that Aslan was good at Polish, like a native speaker. He must be bored. He hasn't been out anywhere for so long. Helena agreed, but noted that they would have to be careful not to reveal his identity. The man was completely in agreement and went to get ready. For some reason, she felt uneasy. No matter what tattered clothes he chose, it is obvious that he is a nobleman. Therefore, it is not at all clear whether they will be able to return home safely. The woman greeted Helena and asked her if she was going to teach the children. The girl greeted the gentleman and asked if Judy had left. But she had already left as soon as the sun rose. But before, she always ran away when she told her to study. Apparently she teaches well. The woman also asked who the young man was. Helena noted that he was a guest in their home. The woman remarked that they looked so good together, but the girl said he was just an important guest, nothing special. Helena turned to Aslan and said that they needed to go quickly, and then immediately ran away. It's so hot even though it's not even summer yet. Maybe it's because Helena was walking fast. Aslan suggested that they rest a little and then continue on their way. They sat down on a bench together, and the man took off his cap. Helena didn't quite understand what he was doing. Aslan started using the kapaluk as a fan. He said he'd be useful. Helena noticed that he really was like a different person and behaved like a child, so she did not believe that he was her lover. It's not that Helena doesn't like it, it's just that it makes her uncomfortable. The children were absolutely delighted to see their teacher. Helena asked if they were doing well. The boy said that he had done all his homework, but they were surprised when they saw someone next to her. They had no idea who it was. They weren't seeing him for the first time. The girl told them they were her guests, and she'd like him to attend the lesson with them. The Duke introduced himself, after which the children smiled and said they were perfectly fine with it. She said that children remember everything well because they obey, but he doesn't understand why she underestimates herself so much. Apparently, when she was a duchess, she also greatly underestimated herself. Aslan Tortle has the feeling that she is used to this. Looking at her memories began to return to him. Before his wedding, he sometimes had ones in which a girl he saw for the first time appeared. But after he met her in real life, he realized that these were memories from his other life. Memories are too different from reality to call it a prophetic dream. If we assume that past lives exist, it could easily explain all the chaos that is happening now. His head is still in complete disarray, but he knows one thing for sure. Yes, the one he loved in his past and present life was not Rosalind Faradot, but Rayla Violet. A girl approached him and, apologizing, asked what his relationship was with her teacher. Aslan said that if she kept it a secret, he would tell her. The gentleman whispered into the little girl's ear that they were married. The girl was absolutely delighted, and Helena didn't quite understand what he was talking about with her students. Mr. Machette's office. He was very angry because he believed he should have dealt with Aslan Tortle once and for all then. He didn't think it was worth entrusting this to such idiots. They couldn't do anything properly. He will definitely begin to suspect them his competitors. But for some reason, he still hasn't done anything. Maybe he's up to something. Someone knocked on his door. It was Glock. When he entered the room, you noticed that the gentleman was quite angry. But he thinks he can help him. And he also asked what he thought about it. The man had no idea how he'd gotten there. Glock kept coming closer and telling him it didn't matter. And he noted that it was he who ordered the murder of Aslan Tordel. The man started asking what he was talking about and pretended that he didn't understand anything. Glock said he'd better make sure his people didn't start talking trash. The men said among themselves that Machetty had given the order to kill Aslan. He was surprised and noted that he was a major businessman, so it was strange that he approached him. Glock overheard all this and was very happy, because now he could use it against him. Machette was annoyed because this idiot had set him up. He thought luck was on his side, because most of the officials and relatives of this family support him. Many told him that the Western Branch would definitely end up in his hands if he killed Aslan. The man had to think of a way to get rid of him once and for all. So he decided to ask Glock what he wanted, and he assumed he wanted revenge. The guy laughed and pointed out that he had said that he would help him. The man was delighted and asked what he would do. Then Glock said he would find out how to kill Aslan. If everything works out, the Western Branch will belong to him. Macette, without thinking twice, decided to sign a contract with him. Rosalind didn't understand at all what to do, because if she agreed to help Glock, then he would probably make a duchess out of her. But he really will kill Aslan. Perhaps Aslan himself will understand everything, and if that happens, she'll be executed on the spot. Rosalind isn't going to risk herself over Glock. Rosalind washes her hands of it. Helena announced that the lesson was over for today. She added that they would meet next week. The children were a little upset and remarked that the weather was so nice today that they could go for a walk. The girl didn't understand at all what she should do, because she wasn't even officially their teacher, so she wasn't sure if she could accompany them. The pastor entered the room and asked what was going on. Helena told him she wanted to take the children for a walk. When the man heard about this, he remarked that he thought the children would really be happy. This means they can. Usually they're alone running around in the forest or at the sea, so it would be even better if she went with them. This is just great, and Helena suggests that they all go to the coast together. The boy asked the teacher if they could play in the water. They wanted to swim in the wine. But the teacher said that it would be better for him to do this another time, since they didn't take a change of clothes. The boy really wanted to get into the water, but his friend suggested that instead he play hide and seek. Meanwhile, the girl invited the lady to play and build a sandcastle. Helena didn't mind at all, and together, they all began building a sandhouse. Afterwards, the lady wasn't quite sure where Aslan was. Meanwhile, he was playing with the boys. The girl noted that he is good at everything, even when he is not with children, and she thinks that he will become a wonderful father. Although she won't be able to see it in person, in 3 years of marriage, they never slept together. Officially, they shared one room and one bed, but Aslan never touched her. Moreover, he sometimes went away and slept on the sofa. The girl couldn't believe that he really hated her so much. She sighed heavily and realized that tomorrow she probably wouldn't be able to get out of bed. Aslan approached her and said that his throat was dry, so he asked if they had any water left. Helena handed him the bottle, and Aslan began to drink the water greedily. She became embarrassed, and strange memories began to come to her as if she had never slept with him. Aslan took Helena's hand. Only she felt it. Only her heart was beating so fast she couldn't breathe. She asked him why he did it, but Aslan remained silent and moved ever closer to her. Aslan almost kissed her, but the boy interrupted them, calling the teacher. Helena immediately jumped up and said she was coming to him. Aslan looked a little sad. The girl did not understand at all how this could happen, and she could not believe that she felt desire at such a moment. But she started to brush it off because she couldn't. She didn't know why Aslan was acting like this, but she is sure that he will regret it after he gets all his memories back, and she doesn't want that and won't let him slip. Helena needed to stay away from him. The next day, she was very tired. After what happened yesterday, some kind of devilish whisper began to torment her. Since she loves Aslan, why can't she just accept the fact that he is also drawn to her? There are so many thoughts that she cannot even sleep at night, and ran away from home under the pretext of wanting to put the priest's book aside. Helena understands that the current Aslan is showing romantic interest in her, but she needs to come to her senses. He just needs to meet someone else, and then everything will change. She noticed that there were a lot of people in the village today, and suddenly, someone called her. It was Lady Emily. Helena was delighted, and immediately approached her and greeted her. They've never been close, so it's not entirely clear what she needs. Emily said that she wanted to ask her something, and that's why she was wondering if she had a minute to talk. Lady Emily said that she was still single and looking for a husband. Is it possible that the reason she came up with? The woman whispered to her what kind of relationship she had with that handsome man with blonde hair. Emily saw them a couple of days ago. Helena asked if she was talking about Aslan. The woman was surprised because she found out that was his name and noted that he even had a cool name. Aslan is so popular, however, it is really not surprising. Helena noted that she noticed that the atmosphere in the village seemed to have changed, and she believed that something had happened. Emily didn't understand at first, but then she said it was because of the festival. The festival will take place in Eris for 3 days. Tomorrow is the first. Their village is very close to the city. That's why everyone is so excited. Helena was delighted to hear this. Well, Emily kept asking about Aslan. The girl said that she had a lot of things to do, so she would go, and was grateful to Emily for telling her. Mom suggested taking a break tomorrow and going to the festival, since there are no urgent matters. My father thought it was worth spending time together before work increased. Aiden was very happy because it was great that they would get a break from work and have fun at the festival. He thinks it's going to be a truly wonderful day. Helena said she's never been to a festival before, so she's really looking forward to it. The brother was surprised by this. He thought that since she had pressed meet in the very center of the country, she had already gotten tired of them. But that wasn't the case, and this was his sister's first festival. She had once attended a similar event organized by the imperial family, but this place looked more like a Soviet party for the aristocracy than a festival. Aiden decided to ask what was going on with the Duke. Aslan said it was the same with him. The man had never been to a festival like this before, either. Since this would be the three of them's first experience, they had to try everything. Aslan was surprised that he would go with them. The whole family surprised, asked him if he wanted to go with them. Ruslan noticed that they said they wanted to go with the whole family, so he thought he shouldn't accompany them. The father noted that this is why they need to go together, because they live under the same roof, and this is considered a family. Aslan had never experienced anything like this before, so he asked again if he really could be with them. Everyone happily confirmed this, and Helena added that the more people the merrier. Family. The Duke was shocked by how much warmth was contained in one word. A servant came to him, and the master asked how things were in the capital. The man reported that everything was relatively fine, no serious problems. However, he received a letter. The gentleman was surprised and began to read it. This was Rosalind Faridot. He read the entire letter carefully. She said she had an important story to tell and wanted to meet him secretly. The Duke had been suggesting that this was shameless, and now it was clear that this woman had lied to him. Apparently, Rosalind didn't yet know that her lie had been exposed, which is why she so shamelessly sent him this letter. Aslan said that he needed to go to the center as soon as possible. There was no need for the master to visit in person. Therefore, the servant said that if he ordered it, he would quickly sort everything out. But Aslan didn't agree to this because he would do everything himself. He was quite angry. He decided he wouldn't let this woman go unpunished, for she had dared to take the place of his beloved wife. He would make her pay for her insolence. Festival day, Mom Sophia helped do her daughter's makeup. Helena looked simply amazing. She had never seen anything more beautiful in her life. So her mother truly is a sorceress. Sophia noted that her daughter is very eloquent. Sophia said that that was all and they should go because they were expected. The father was shocked when he saw his daughter and said that her beauty blinded him, and now he was unable to open his eyes. Aiden was shocked too. I said that his sister looked great, even a little different from herself. Selena was grateful for such kind words. She deserved them because today she looked especially beautiful, and he believed that Aslan thought so too. Aslan agreed with them too, and he told her she was simply incredible. This embarrassed Helena. The parents decided to go somewhere together, but the children came with them too. The mother turned to her daughter and said that it was a very lovely pendant, and it suited Helena very well. The girl became embarrassed, and Sophia offered to buy it for her, but Helena said no. But she was still grateful. The girl didn't want to bother her family with unnecessary expenses. As she continued to look through the assortment, she noticed a very beautiful bracelet there. Continuing the festival, suddenly, Helena began to wonder where Aslan could have gone. She looked around and saw him, then went up to him and asked what he was doing there. She saw that the gentleman was holding the very same bracelet. She was surprised that he had bought it, and now she understood that he saw everything, but she didn't understand at all why he needed all this. She asked him if he had even bought what she had barely glanced at. Aslan was embarrassed. He just bought it and didn't even think about it. So he's interested in whether he did everything right, like before. Or will she now feel obligated because of this? Then their father approached them, having finally found them. Father thought it was time for them to go, since they still had to go to work the next day. Sophia agreed with him. Helena wanted to ask Aslan if he bought all these things, but she didn't have time, and then she agreed with her mother that it was time for them to go. Well, father said that let the two walk around a little longer, because they say that the most interesting part of the festival will be in the evening. Aiden asked why two, since he wanted one too, but his parents told him it was time to go home and wished their daughter a good time. Aslan suggested that she enjoy the festival while she had time. Selena agreed with him and said with a smile that they could move on. On the way, they noticed that people were dancing there, so Aslan invited her to dance. The gentleman remarked that it looked like everyone could dance here, so why shouldn't they join in? Helena agreed. Aslan told her to follow her heart's lead since they weren't at a ball. They happily danced all night, and suddenly, Aslan picked her up in his arms. The girl was very embarrassed, but simply smiled at him, and they weren't having a fun time together. Rosalind, meanwhile, did not understand at all why Aslan still had not answered her. Glock came to see her. Rosalind asked him what had happened. Almost all the preparations were complete. The main problem was whether Aslan's memories had been restored, so I asked her if she had any idea about that. Rosalind said that if he had remembered everything completely, he would have come to the center with Helena a long time ago. But since they still haven't arrived, it must be that not all of his memory has returned to him. The man noted that there would be problems if it continued. Only if this guy remembers everything and cherishes his wife again will they be able to bring their plan to life. Glock thought he should speed up the process. Rosalind was shocked and confused. Helena's legs hurt from dancing for so long, and so much. Well, overall, it was a lovely day. Suddenly, she noticed someone's handkerchief had fallen out. She called the man, and he asked her what was wrong. Helena said with a smile that he had dropped his handkerchief and handed it to him. The man was shocked, as he hadn't even noticed, and he was very grateful to the lady. He apologized and asked what lineage she was from. He only asked because he wanted to thank her later. Helena sighed and said that she lived in Ellawood, not far from here. Her family isn't influential enough to qualify as well-born. The man apologized, assuming she was coming from out of town on vacation. In fact, this is not true at all. The man smiled at her very much, but Aslan approached them and asked what was going on. The stranger said he wanted to thank the lady for picking up his handkerchief. Ruslan noted that he thought he had already managed to do this, and if he had nothing more to say, then he could go. He became frightened and said that in that case, he asked permission to take his leave. Helena was grateful to him for his help, but he really didn't say anything like that. Aslan asked if collecting handkerchiefs was her hobby, the same this time as last time, so he doesn't understand at all why she keeps doing this. Aslan's behavior is unreasonable, but Helena realized that from his words, it was clear that his memories were returning to him, so the girl asked him again what he had just said. Aslan was shocked and assumed she was upset by his jealousy. That's why he said he hadn't said anything like that. Helena didn't quite understand why he suddenly denied it. After all, he remembers everything. So she asked him if his memories were returning. Aslan just said that she had already picked up the handkerchief, which meant that he remembered their first meeting. The man didn't quite understand why she was suddenly asking this. He assumed she was asking him to speed up his memory and drive downtown. That's why he said that it wasn't so, because the words just came out of his mouth by accident. So now it's clear to him how they met, and it's so interesting. Helena asked if he really didn't remember anything. Aslan pointed this out. But I didn't understand why he'd lie to her. The girl made it seem strange, but he had already remembered that she had picked up the handkerchief he had injured. Therefore, it is completely unclear why he would lie if his memory returned. Perhaps he is embarrassed. And it was awkward because he remembered his love for Rosalind. Perhaps Aslan really is lying ashamed of what he's been denying all this time. If he remembers, he can return to Rosaline. Ruslan is a kind person, so he probably just doesn't want to offend her. Helena realized that even if he hadn't returned from his memories, they would still be able to be together for a little while. Aslan thought something had happened, but the lady said nothing of the sort. She must have doubts about him. It's understandable. He needs to be extremely careful not to get caught in the future. Helena wanted to apologize to him because she would have to pretend for a while as if she didn't know anything. She said that her family must be worried, so she suggested that he come back quickly. Helena started to fall. Aslan managed to catch her, and then asked if she was hurt. Helena simply tripped. And now everything is fine, so they can go. But Aslan said that they would not go because he needed to make sure that she did not hurt her leg. He asked her to sit on the bench and began examining her leg. Helena tried to stop him. Aslan said that she had a lot of abrasions on her leg, so they needed to find a doctor. Well, the girl said she should just go home and treat them. But Aslan said that wasn't right, because she shouldn't be so careless about her health, because blisters may appear. The children looked at them and saw that the guy was kneeling in front of the girl and suggested that he was proposing, or that he was her servant. Helena couldn't believe they looked like that to other people, and it was embarrassing. She said everything was fine and she'd take care of it herself. So she wants to go home and asks him to give her the shoe. But Aslan silently took her in his arms, which made her scared and very embarrassed. The Duke noted that the shoes were rubbing, so she shouldn't walk in them. He will deliver her safe and sound. She just needs to relax. In such a situation, she definitely wouldn't be able to simply relax. The very man who had been chatting so sweetly with her was watching. He wondered if they were lovers, and he supposed they were. He was actually quite handsome. He started to leave and asked if anyone was there. Because of the festival, he decided not to take his sword with him. But he doesn't understand at all why this is happening now. Someone grabbed his arm. He had no idea who the hell this guy was, and was incredibly nervous. Helena wasn't sure they were heading towards her home, so she asked Aslan where they were going. The gentleman said she needed to see a doctor. Elna told him she just wanted to go home. But the Duke said that this was exceptional, because first aid must be provided correctly. They arrived. Selena started to get up and leave, but the gentleman began to pick her up. The lady said she was able to walk there on her own. The gentleman remarked that if she continued to kick, they would both fall. The lady asked where they were. Aslan said they were in a place where she would definitely receive help. He opened the door and couldn't understand who had come to see him at such an hour. He wasn't pleased at all. Aslan asked if he was Gus Chester. The doctor was shocked when he saw his master. The Duke said that Oscar Lingston had told him that a lieutenant named Gus Chester lived here, and that he can come here if he needs anything, and asked if he knows that he has lost his memory. Chester said he was aware of the situation and said they could proceed. He asked that he call a doctor immediately. The man said that he would do it right away and asked if he was injured. Well, Aslan said that it wasn't him, but his wife who injured her leg. He understood him. A man who doesn't even remember his lieutenant's name can't give orders so naturally. As I thought, he probably already regained his memory and was just hiding it. Until it heals early, you should avoid contact with water if possible, and remember to apply the ointment every morning. Now the mistress must try to get up. Helena apologized to the master for making him worry over such trivial matters. Aslan said that she shouldn't apologize and that it shouldn't be called a trifle. She's in pain, and he doesn't understand why she doesn't take care of herself at all. Helena was definitely in a lot of pain, so he doesn't understand why she's acting like that. The girl said it was really a small thing. The gentleman continued to ask her not to speak like that, and he urged her to take care of herself. and she reacted even to the little things Gus Chester asked how her leg was and if everything was okay. Helena confirmed this and was very grateful for the kindness. Gus Chester suggested that it was getting late anyway, so he suggested that the gentlemen stay the night and set off tomorrow when it was lighter. Helena said her family would be worried, so Aslan asked for a map to be prepared. After all, they were supposed to be back today. Gus Chester understood the master and immediately set about fulfilling the order. He also approached the servant and asked if he had received any messages from the center. Gus Chester confirmed this and said that he had recently given the latter to Oscar. If something urgent happens, it's best to hurry and go straight to Ellawood. He leaves the window at the end of the second-floor room open. They shouldn't waste time pondering whether the message is worth immediate consideration. After all, that's their business. Gus Chester understood his master and said that it would be done. Aslan suggested that the lady wait for the carriage, and Gus Chester didn't even know how to react to all this. He noticed that he was acting exactly the same as before, so he wasn't sure if he had really lost his memory. Aiden turned to his mom and dad and told them they had arrived. Mom was very happy to see her daughter, and that they were already here. Helena came to ask if they had really been waiting outside all this time. The parents were simply worried that something had happened, and then they asked what had delayed them. His sister hadn't returned, so his mother was about to send him to the pastor for a carriage. Of course, a lot of things happened, but the girl said that nothing serious happened. Helena said it was so much fun that she lost track of time. Something did happen. Aslan said this and added that his wife had injured her leg, and they had gone to the doctor, which is why they were delayed. Her parents were shocked that she had hurt herself and started asking what was wrong with her leg. The girl told her parents that everything was fine. Now Aslan only watched with a smile. The stranger who had lost his handkerchief asked who the man was. Glock asked him if he is interested in this girl because he can help him. Frankly, he thinks it was love at first sight. However, the man Lady was with seems to value her very much, and he doesn't think he can do anything to counter it, so his help in this case is useless. Glock asked if this was true, as his words differed somewhat from what he knew. In fact, these people don't like each other. The gentleman asked if he was sure about this. The man he had seen following him had been in an accident and lost his memory, and he believes that when he remembers everything, he will return to his beloved. In that case, he feels very sorry for that lady. Glock added that she had no idea that her ex-husband, who never loved her, had ever loved her. Aslan came to her only to bring back her memories, and nothing more. The stranger asked what he was saying and believed that he had come to the lady on purpose, and he asked again if they were married. Glock said yes, but now they were, so to speak, divorced. He came to her on purpose, and here one can guess that these two, as is known, were trying to develop warm feelings for each other. Glock asked him what he thought, since it was obvious that he was just using her. The gentleman asked Glock if he was sure that he didn't remember anything. Perhaps this man has already regained his memories. It's easy to check. Glock told his idea and then asked how he liked the plan. Glock said he wished him luck and started to walk away. He also hoped that things would work out between him and this girl, and he said goodbye. The stranger did not understand why he was helping him. The vision met for the first time, so he wants to know about it. Glock asked him not to feel obligated, as he genuinely just wanted to help. But in response, he asks him to write to him how everything went. Glock told Rosalind that everything was going according to plan. At this rate, she'd soon be a duchess. Rosaline was happy, which meant she'd been worrying for nothing. Glock really was going to make her a duchess and kill Aslan, but she doesn't understand at all why Aslan hasn't answered yet. If this continues, he might misunderstand everything. Rosalind can't allow this. Glock suggests that perhaps she should look for a wedding dress in advance. Or maybe it would be better to pick out the rings first. She sighed and said it was too early for that. They're not done yet, after all. Rosalind needs to figure out how to help Aslan without Glock finding out. The girl didn't understand at all what she should do, and suddenly remembered that perhaps she should go to Ellawood herself and check everything out. Glock asked again. Since Aslan wasn't answering, it would be better if she told him about this guy's plan in person. Glock stood up and said that he wanted to make sure, just in case, that she wasn't up to anything. Rosalind didn't understand what he was talking about, and Glock noted that he thought she'd forgotten something. Glock could reveal her secret at any moment, so stop forgetting your pretty head with all sorts of nonsense. She should just do what he told her. Rosalind immediately agreed and said that's how it would be. The girl did not understand at all what she should do now and how to act in this situation. 3 days later, Helena's leg was completely healed, and she was very happy about it. After all, her parents said that, until her leg healed, she shouldn't leave the house, and if she needed anything, she should speak up. Because of this, it didn't leave the house for 3 whole days. She sat on the bed with a smile. Helena did not object to this, only because she felt awkward seeing Aslan after he carried her in his arms. But today, she definitely has to go out for a walk. Before she could lie in bed for weeks. But now it's not so easy. The locals are asking so many questions about Aslan that she doesn't even know if she should go out. This was Aslan's first time in Ellawood for such a long period of time. He hadn't been here for a very long time, and it seemed to her that they had become closer here than they had ever been at the estate. Helena thought he was a serious person, but inside he was just like a child, just as restless. She still loves Aslan, but she came here because she did so that her feelings would disappear. Suddenly, she heard his voice calling her. She had no idea why now. She decided that was it, and it was time to let Aslan go. She noticed that there was a similar hill near her previous home, and Helena was glad she'd found a similar place. Aslan was surprised. But it's cool. When she lived at the Tortle estate, her favorite place was the garden, and he planted many different flowers for her. Apparently they were on good terms. But Helena can't say that. Aslan acted friendly, but she couldn't understand his true feelings. At one time, she thought he liked her, but later he became cold and distant. This ambiguous attitude left her stunned. Helena asked if he would have any questions about what he was like before, because she can tell everything she remembers, but Aslan didn't understand why he needed it at all. The girl said that this was so that he would remember everything faster. If he really does remember everything, then she can't turn a blind eye to it forever. Aslan believed that she wanted to do this so that his memories would return, and he would leave her. Helena would like him to stay, but he needs to go. The girl said that was exactly it, because he was a busy man, and they were definitely waiting for him in the capital. As he told you, since his wife intends to kick him out, he will obey. Helena said she didn't tell him he had to leave. Aslan said he knew exactly what would help him remember. The man kissed Helena. It was so sudden that the girl was startled. Helena found it hard to breathe, so she jumped away from him. She began to breathe heavily. The girl understood that she needed to say something, but her head was in complete disarray. They say that memory can be restored by replaying past events. Since they were no longer a married couple, something like this was probably not uncommon. But his memories have returned, and he knows for sure that they didn't kiss. The girl told him they hadn't done anything wrong. He remembered everything, including the fact that their marriage had actually been arranged. Aslan noted that she was so convinced that his memory had returned. Helena asked if this was really true. Aslan said he wouldn't deny it. However, the memories are still incomplete. For example, their married life. It seemed to him that this was absolutely normal for a couple. It was strange that they didn't do it. Aslan came here to share this with her, but it seemed like it was wrong. His assistant handed him the ring, and he said that it was sent to him by his maid. Helena noticed that it was her wedding ring, so she didn't understand at all what all this was for. The gentleman said that he wants their marriage to be real, because he loves her. Selena decided that this couldn't be true, and that she couldn't be liked by a person like Aslan. It was simply impossible. She is not a match for him. Aslan is more suited to a true protagonist. Even if his feelings were true, she is afraid. And it seems that he will change his mind after this as the memories return. So she suggests that they talk to him about it when he remembers everything. Aslan agreed and said that if that was the case, in order to get an answer, he needed to quickly regain his memory. Helena was really waiting for the moment when Aslan would truly like her. Well, every time she saw him and Rosalind together, her hopes were dashed. Before his memory loss, Aslan showed no signs of emotion. Helena said that when his memories returned, his feelings might change. But Aslan, 3 salads in, said he would still love her. The girl said that couldn't be true, because he didn't love her before. And if I did, I still didn't show it. Aslan shouted that everything was wrong. If he suddenly lost his memory again, it would return to her, and he will love again. That's why he doesn't understand at all why she doesn't want to accept it. Glock said he was curious whether the gentleman had verified the information he had told him. Machete confirmed this and said that his people questioned everyone who might have known the real Helena Lorestan. He asked the lady who was close to her in childhood, and she said that the current woman is radically different from her younger self. According to her, Lady Laristine was a completely different person as a child, from her facial features to her hair color and personality. Machette asked what that meant. After all, they all change as they grow older. The servant agreed with him. They inquired about the situation from the staff working in the mansion. As soon as they heard the name, they refused to talk to them, and it was practically impossible to find out anything. But one lady agreed to share some interesting information. The current Duchess of Tordel is the mistress they were supposed to serve. Macchetti asked what this meant. Recalling the rumors circulating at the time, one could make a few guesses. They say that Count Larestine kidnapped girls, and all of them, according to rumors, were the same age as his daughter Helena, even looked like her. The lady added something else on this matter. The servant reported all this to the master, with a serious face. At first, the maid was only happy to serve her mistress, but the problem was that different people kept appearing in her place. Who would have thought that the Duchess was only pretending to be an aristocrat? Macchetti was very happy because he had finally discovered Aslan Tordel's weakness. He asked, "How about you calling the noble lady and the maid as witnesses?" Glock said that if they added his words to this, they would simply have no choice. But the gentleman wasn't entirely sure how he'd learned about it. Come to think of it, he knew practically nothing about it. Glock didn't think it was that important. The main thing was that he provided him with this information, and absolutely free of charge. So he doesn't have to worry because he will never betray him. Machette just needs to do what Glock says. The gentleman understood him. The guy said that this was good, and in that case, they just needed to wait until Aslan's memory returned. Once they are sure that he has remembered everything, they will proceed to the next stage. In the meantime, the master must take care of Glock. This surprised Machetta a little. After that conversation, Aslan began asking frequently about his past. This was supposed to help him regain his lost memories. Aslan asked his wife if he'd enjoyed it before. Helena wasn't sure, but sometimes when he had time, he did do crosswords. The man began to believe she did too. Helena noted that this was indeed true, but not often. She hadn't been particularly interested in such things before, but after she joined him one day, she began to solve them on her own. Aslan was simply delighted that they had once spent time like this. It was fun, and she feels a sense of satisfaction if she manages to solve all the difficult problems. Once she sent her questionnaire to the newspaper and even won a prize. During their conversation, they talk more about her than about Aslan. However, she thinks it's sometimes useful to look back at her past. Aslan remarked that this was simply wonderful, and by the way, he noticed that she spoke Polish quite well. So he wondered if he'd known about it before. She'd confirmed it, and there were times when they'd only communicated in Polish. Now that he thought about it, he knew she spoke the language. She wanted to tell him about her earnings, but Aslan told her to wait. He didn't know that she worked. Helena confirmed this. The gentleman couldn't believe he hadn't given her enough money in the past, but Helena said that wasn't true. Aslan assumed this meant she needed her own funds. To tell the truth, she just wanted to buy a gift with her own money. Aslan said he wouldn't have guessed. Surprisingly, it turns out she knows the language very well. Once a publishing house offered her a collaboration, but the girl said she was just lucky. Moreover, they entrusted this work to her because they could pay less than professional translators. The gentleman asked her not to be modest. She says it's a simple lead, but if she hadn't taken the initiative and shown her skills, she wouldn't have had a chance. These high-quality translations are a huge loss for publishers. If you think about it, the fact that they continued to turn to her is significant. All it says is that her translation was definitely excellent. However, Helena agreed with him, and now she thinks that the problems of the past were not so insoluble. She'd never heard such words addressed to her before, and she was very happy. Their conversation gave her a pleasant feeling of peace, and then she asked him what was wrong. Aslan said he was angry with himself because he was such a fool. Had he ever said such things to her before? Helena began to tell him that he shouldn't think that way. Aslan said he didn't think she needed to be justified, as it was low of him. The girl remarked that he was being overly self-critical. They continued their pleasant conversation on various topics. Mother called her daughter and told her that Lady Garnet was looking for her. Helena was surprised and asked again. Mother told her that the woman said she had business with her. As Helena stood up, she thought that Lady Garnet knew her mother well, but they had never even met. The woman was very glad to see her, and Helena noted that she had heard that she had been looking for her. The lady confirmed this and said that she wanted to give her a letter. It was an invitation from Viscount Lancefield. The girl was surprised and asked again. The lady confirmed that it was indeed an invitation, and then she said that he would be glad if she visited him at his estate and asked him to read it and then make a decision. But Helena didn't know him and asked the lady if she was sure that this letter was for her. The woman confirmed this and said that she had been asked to give it to a beautiful young lady with long brown hair who lived in Ellawood, and she's not sure they have anyone else like her, but Elena thought there were a lot of brunettes here. The mother noted that perhaps this invitation was really for her daughter, but it was completely unclear why such a high-ranking person had invited her to his place. I wonder what kind of person he is if he invites a girl he has never seen before. The lady heard that he wanted to thank the lady, but Helena had no idea what it all meant. He said Lady had helped him during the festival. It hadn't changed Elena at all for her to do something so significant. And then she remembered that it was probably that man who had picked up the handkerchief. The lady asked if the man was a young brown-haired man with green eyes and a handsome face. Aslan decided that he would never allow this to happen because it was him then. Helena doesn't know the details, but she seems to understand who we're talking about. People said that's when she caught the Viscount's attention. They heard a crunching sound. The Duke broke something in his hands. He immediately apologized and said he simply misjudged his strength. She asked them to continue their conversation. Her mother remarked that she thought it was too much, because no matter how grateful he was to invite a girl to his estate, it was strange. These are all excuses. If he simply wanted to thank the lady, he would have sent a servant to her with money. The lady said that she thought the Viscount had fallen in love with the lady at first sight. She shouted that this was nonsense. Of course, her daughter was incredibly beautiful, and even if he didn't fall in love, it wouldn't be surprising. But they only saw each other once, and inviting a girl to your home after just one meeting is too much. People thought that this was not too much at all, because he was simply interested in the lady. Differences in status aren't easy to overcome. When a nobleman starts a relationship with a commoner, it's not considered serious. Be that as it may, the higher the position of a person, the more judgment from others follows towards his other half. Even if ordinary people don't know this unspoken rule, the aristocracy certainly knows it. One thing to ruin his life and reputation, but it's another to treat his wife so frivolously. Aslan decided he couldn't let her go there. Her mother asked her daughter what she thought about it. Helena said she wouldn't go, especially if he'd invited her because he was interested. The lady remarked that she still advised her to go if possible. Viscount Lancefield is not a bad man, and the villagers will be very glad if they have a misunderstanding with him. Most of the locals work for him. The girl realized that if she refused the invitation, her family could suffer. Sophia said that she didn't need to think about it. The lead was necessary only because of this. She shouldn't worry about her parents, and remember that it hurts to do what she wants. If Viscount Lancefield is truly as good a man as Lady Garnet describes him, he will not take revenge on her for her refusal. But the problem is public opinion. If she refuses, then this woman will certainly spread this information throughout the village. Violet's family coldly rejected Viscount Lancefield's invitation. The Viscount most likely invited her simply because she wanted to thank her for her help during the festival, so Helena said she agreed. Her mother asked if it was true and inquired why she had made such a decision. If you think about it, it's impolite to refuse like that. Nothing will happen, so Mom shouldn't worry. Aslan approached her and said that in that case, he would go with her, because with him, she will definitely be safe. 2 days later, Aslan finally decided to go with her. As it turned out, the Viscount's estate and Violet's family home are located nearby. The girl was surprised, because she didn't know since they had never crossed paths with him before. The Duke remarked that this only meant that he was no longer such an influential aristocrat. They arrived. Helena thanked the gentleman for inviting her, and the Viscount was very glad that she also came. Aslan remarked that he was happy to meet him. His name was Aslan Tordal. The Viscount remarked that he was pleased to meet him. The table is already set, so he asks to follow him. The man led them into the dining room, hoping they wouldn't mind if his family joined them. The gentleman introduced himself. Helena introduced herself too. His family also told him how to address them. Also sitting with them were Caroline Harvey, a relative of Viscount Lancefield, and Diana the Viscount's younger sister. Who would have thought that those family members would be here? And for some reason, they were looking at her strangely. The Viscount asked how they had enjoyed his food and remarked that he was sorry to part with them so quickly and also wanted to speak with Monsieur Tordel. If he smoked, he could follow him into the smoking room. But Aslan apologized and said that he did not smoke and could not stand the smell of cigarettes. Then the Viscount asked if he played billiards. Aslan turned to his wife and asked if she would mind if he stepped away for a while. Helena, of course, didn't mind Aslan enjoys playing billiards in his free time. The Viscount shared that he also loved it, so he asked to come with him. Aslan asked what he wanted to discuss with him. At first, the gentleman didn't quite understand what he was talking about. Aslan noted that he was obviously looking for an excuse to talk to him privately. The Viscount became embarrassed and remarked that he had been discovered and that he actually wanted to ask him one question. The Duke asked what question he wished to ask him. The Viscount remarked that he was very fond of Lady Helena. It became even more obvious during dinner. He kept his eyes on her throughout the entire meal. Aslan noted that he hadn't even noticed it. The man thought he was very worried about her. To tell the truth, he was very interested in the lady, but when he saw the way he looked at her, he decided to give up his feelings. So he wondered if the master really loved her. Aslan confirmed it. And then he said that she was a person who was more precious to him than his own life. The Viscount added that he was so frank and asked why they didn't play billiards as planned. If that man's words are true, then before he lost his memory, Mr. Tordel did not love Helena, but another girl. But was it true that he had lost his memories? The Viscount wasn't yet completely sure of it. Now, Sister and Lady Harvey must carry out their part of the plan. The woman was a little tired, so she would leave them so that they, the young ladies, could chat in peace. Suddenly, one of the girls coughed and said that her brother said that this girl helped him, so she was interested to know what kind of person she was. And this was not at all what she expected. The other lady confirmed this as well. Elna noticed that it was Polish. Lady Helena realized that these people just wanted to make fun of her. Their Polish is quite poor. The woman flew in and said she had no education, so she probably doesn't understand them at all now. To put it bluntly, they speak at about the level of the children she teaches. Well, the girl decided that she shouldn't react to these ridiculous provocations, and she doesn't know what is the reason for this sudden hostility. But she was already accustomed to this kind of abuse. The women continued talking and looked at the girl like falcons. One girl said that a person's worth is determined from the moment they're born. Another remarked that this was such a remarkable idea, and was shocked to learn that she was familiar with Petrascho's works. They're simply amazing. Therefore, she will remember her words and will definitely take them into account. As far as she knows, Diana has also inherited the superior intelligence that comes with their kind, and she will soon become just like her. But this girl is not at all, and she heard that her parents work in an orchard. Since they were born insignificant, they will never approach their greatness. That's why she feels so sorry for them. Helena didn't care that they were laughing at her, but they had no right to talk about her family like that. The woman asked if this lady had understood anything from their conversation. The other lady sighed. She remarked that she wouldn't be surprised if she could only make out her name from that phrase, and the other remarked that since there was no answer, she would have to repeat it again. The woman asked her if she had heard her and why she hadn't answered. Helena apologized. She understood a lot, but thought for a moment as she decided how to answer. She noted that it was impolite to mention someone else's mistake, but in some things they were seriously mistaken, and she could not ignore it. The author of the book Lady Caroline read was not Petraschu, but Patnajeshu. The lady immediately became shy and didn't even know what to say. The girl added that Patnajeshu's words should be understood in their context, but she would not go into details. "Look," she asked in horror if she had been ignoring them all this time. The Viscount laughed and remarked in vain that the gentleman was remarkably well versed in global economics and believed that he worked in the field of trade. Aslan pointed out that one could say that too. The man said he understood and that he too had a small business. They've been trying here longer than he expected, so he thinks it's time for them to return to the living room. The Viscount, of course, was not against it, because it is not good to leave the lady for a long time. Aslan approached his wife and noticed that she seemed to have a slight fever, so he asked if everything was okay. Helena didn't understand at all how he knew, because it was a signal only for the two of them. Whenever she was ignored at social events, Whenever Aslan saw it, he would finish her off under that pretext. Perhaps it's a coincidence, or perhaps he just remembered it. The girl wants to ask him about it right now, but there are too many prying ears here. So the lady said that everything was fine, but she thought that further communication might be difficult for her. Aslan noted that in that case, they had better go home. They thanked him for inviting them, and the Viscount said that he would have a carriage prepared for them. Helena also thanked him for his care and bowed to him. The Viscount turned to the lady and asked if everything had gone well since he could not overhear their conversation from the other room. The lady noticed that she unconsciously got angry in the middle, but overall everything was as he said. He said, "Uncle, that she has a slight fever, and that means that your man's words were true after all." Whenever Lady gets into trouble at a social event, he comes up to her and tells her she has a slight fever. Then all that's left to do is say that Aslan's memories have returned. But he made it clear to him that Aslan does not love his wife, so there is an inconsistency. This is different from what Glock said, but his gaze. Only a deeply loving person can look like that. This kind of feeling can't be faked, so it's not clear what's going on. And maybe Glock was just using it. Be that as it may, he is completely confused, because these two obviously love each other. The Viscount finally realized he had no chance. Lady asked what was wrong with him and assumed there was some kind of problem. But he said that wasn't true and thanked them for their help. Then he said it was time for him to leave. It was probably thanks to him that he would be able to surrender. But first, he decided to report the results. Glock was very happy. Rosalind did not understand at all what was happening to him and why he was smiling. He noted that it seemed their plan was nearing completion. All this time, she hadn't had the opportunity to tell Aslan about Glock's plan. Glock asked why she stood up. The girl did not quite understand what he wanted from her. Glock told Rosalind that it was time to write a letter to Aslan Tordell. Maybe Helena was mistaken. She might have simply accidentally let him know about their secret signal. But she decided that there was no point in denying it any longer, and decided to inform Islam that she would like to ask it something. The gentleman asked what was wrong. The woman asked him to tell her the truth. Whoever it is, he will answer any of her questions, honestly. Helena fell silent. Helena wondered if his memory had returned. She asked since when, and assumed he had been lying from the very beginning. Aslan did not understand anything, and the girl asked him why he pretended to have lost his memory and thought that it amused him. Helena asked him if he found it funny how someone who knew nothing tried to help him remember everything. The gentleman told her that everything was wrong, and he didn't want to deceive her. He did lose his memory, but during the time he spent with her, his memories returned. However, he hadn't had the opportunity to tell her about it. Helena asked if he really meant there had been no opportunity, because he could have done it at any moment. If only he'd just admitted that his memory had returned when they were talking about it. Then she wouldn't feel so stupid. Aslan wanted to at least try to justify himself, but he couldn't even open his mouth. The Duke had no idea where to begin or when to stop. Aslan has been hiding something all his life. Speaking openly is dangerous, and sincerity is a weakness that could become a serious threat to a person if it were suddenly discovered. Politics, economics, history, philosophy, and art. All these disciplines teach a person to watch every word he says, and he simply could not speak frankly with people. Therefore, Aslan was simply unable to fulfill his wife's request and answer her honestly. Helena noticed that he wasn't even trying to explain. Aslan was completely shocked and silent about it. The girl told him that broken trust is like a broken vase. You can glue it back together, but the marks will still remain. And at any moment, it could break again. Aslan didn't even know what to say in such a case. Then they arrived, and Aslan offered her his hand so that she could get out of the carriage, but the girl turned away and got out herself. Helena announced she was home. Her parents happily asked how the meeting with the Viscount had gone, but the girl apologized and said that she wanted to rest a little. The father thought something had happened, but his wife didn't even know what to say about it. Sophia hoped nothing serious had happened. Elena entered the room and immediately plopped down on the bed as she was so tired. She doesn't want to think about anything. Sophia asked Aslan if the Viscount had offended her in any way. Aslan noted that not at all, but the father did not understand why his daughter behaved this way when she arrived. Aslan stood up at the table and said that he would go and look because he heard some strange sound, but when he opened the door, he found nothing. But when he looked over, he saw he had received a letter, Sophia also came over and asked who it was. But the gentleman said that there was no one, but she was looking around just in case, and would be back soon. The letter stated that he knew Helena Laurestein's real identity. Aslan and everyone else did not understand who wrote it, and thought that it was from Rosalind Faradot. After that, he clutched the letter in his hands and decided that he had to go to the center right now. His parents asked him where he was going and assumed that he needed to leave for work. The Duke said that he urgently needed to go to the center and asked that they not tell their daughter that he had left so hastily, because Aslan doesn't want to bother her with trivial matters. The master couldn't understand how she dared to frighten him with these ridiculous threats, so he'll make her pay for it. Helena sat in the garden. She remembered her mother saying that the Duke had left early that morning due to numerous work commitments. Yesterday, she wanted to apologize for her presumptuous behavior, but she decided that she should have just left everything as it was. Her mother came up to her and asked what had happened. She thought the Duke had done something bad to her, but the girl said that wasn't true. Then the mother assumed that the two of them had had a fight. Helena said it was all because she was narrow-minded. She thought Aslan might be mocking her, and ignored what she had the courage to think about seriously. Sophia remarked that she couldn't be sure, but she didn't think the Duke looked like the kind of person who would laugh at her and ignore her. The daughter agreed with her, and then her mother remarked that she thought she and the Duke were very similar. Aslan was too different a person to compare him to her, so she didn't quite want to believe it, to the point that the comparison begins to seem pathetic. Sophia noted that they were both too attentive to each other and didn't take care of themselves at all. And as it seems to her, the Duke may pretend with everyone else, but towards her he is always sincere. Mom asked her to think about who was the reason they were living so well now. Helena remarked that it was just a favor from Aslan, but her mother said that wasn't true and that he did it because he cared about her. If he had simply felt sorry for them and tried to help them, he would have simply given them a house. But the Duke continued to take care of them until they settled here, and he provided them with a garden so that they could continue to work. And how did he send them letters, asking how they were doing, and if they were experiencing any inconveniences? If he didn't care about her, then she wouldn't think that he would help strangers like that. Mom decided to say finally that if she didn't believe in this, then she couldn't do anything about it. If she reads the letters I wrote to them, the Duke, she will definitely change her mind. The Duke sent them all these letters, so Mom asks her to read them. When they ate together, he learned that Helena liked food with a strong taste. Today, while doing the dishes, she looked at the flowers, and next year he plans to decorate the garden with his wife's favorite flowers. Recently, Helena became interested in embroidery, and he was sorry that she did not show it to him, apparently wondering if she would show her embroidery to her mother-in-law and father-in-law. Helena knew that he sent letters here from time to time, but she thought that they contained only a formal greeting. But that's not it at all. Mom asked if she felt how much he thought about her and cared about her. Mama said she could read as much as she wanted, just not to tell the Duke that she had shown them to her. Helena thought she knew Aslan well, but it turns out she didn't know much about him, so she doesn't understand at all why he hid it from her. If he had told her honestly, everything would have been different. She remembered her mother's words about how similar she and he were. It wasn't that he hadn't said it. He just couldn't bring himself to tell her. Failure to speak honestly about one's feelings and the negative representation of another person's feelings makes a person feel afraid, and ultimately prefers to avoid this person despite his eyes. Helena noted that I was saying that the spouses were similar to each other, but she did not understand at all how they became similar in the first place. However, she feels that she can now discuss everything honestly with Aslan. The Duke came to see Rosalind Faradot. She greeted him joyfully, and then she noticed that until that moment, he had not contacted her in any way, and now he had arrived. Aslan asked her right from the door if she'd sent the letter to Ellawood. Rosalind remarked that she had, and it seemed it had arrived safely. The man had no idea what she was planning. The woman said it was exactly as written in the letter. Rosalind knows the real identity of his wife, Helena Laurestine. And then she asked him what would happen if this secret became known to everyone. Posing as a noblewoman is a serious crime, so Helena will likely find herself in some danger. Aslan decided to ask who she got this information from and how she knew that his memories had returned. After all, his letter would have been meaningless if his memories had not been restored. There was no way Rosalind could have figured this out on her own, so he assumes that Glock Laurestin told her about it. The man remarked that he should have taken care of it earlier. Rosalind said that if he fulfilled her request, this information would not go anywhere. Aslan agreed and ordered her to say what she wanted. Rosalind said that she wanted him to marry her. In that case, she will keep this secret for the rest of her life. Such threats won't work on Aslan. But what if she admits that Glock forced her? The Duke asked if these conditions were final. If he made her a duchess, would she really tell no one about his wife's secrets? Rosalind confirmed this and said that she promised it. Aslan agreed and said that he would do as she said. He will decide the wedding date himself. He will remain at the center for some time. So if she has anything else to say, she should come to his residence. Aslan said his wife was probably still angry with him. It was only natural since he'd been lying to her all this time. Besides, while they were together, he showed himself to be terribly immature. No wonder she was disappointed in him. The servant asked the master what had happened, and he said that he was a little tired and lost in thought, so he asked him to repeat it again. Glock Laristine approached Eston, the head of the Mekchet company, a distant relative of the Tordal family. They were often seen in the Amber House, and the last time they seemed to speak was in the estate itself. Judging by the fact that he is addressing precisely those people who prioritize his existence, Glock Laristine really does intend to kill him. Aslan noted that to some extent this was expected. He asked if the people listed were connected to the accidents he had been in. He also wondered if they had found any evidence. The servant apologized. The gentleman ordered an even more thorough investigation into Eston and Glock Laristine. The servant was surprised and asked if he really thought that they had staged the accident. Eston is ready to do anything to make Mekchet the #1 company in its industry, and he considers those who do not help him in this endeavor useless. And he doesn't understand why such a person would team up with Glock, an aristocrat, without influence or money. There must be a reason why Aston couldn't turn down Glock's offer. Aslan said they must find out what this reason was. The servant understood him. However, he understands that he is meddling in something that is none of his business, but he asks not to worry so much about his wife, because Gus Chester stayed there and is looking after the lady. Judging by the fact that no news has come in, she is now in Ellawood. The butler informed the gentleman that he had a guest. Aslan wasn't quite sure who it could be. Helena jumped out from behind the door and announced that she was alone, and I asked if she had disturbed his work. Aslan said that no, and asked her how and why she came here. The girl said she wanted to talk to him about something. Perhaps she had finally figured out her feelings for him. Helena asked if he could spare her a minute. He said anything for her. It was a good start she was able to be alone with Aslan. But now she can't utter a word. Aslan doesn't even seem surprised, even though they haven't seen each other for so long. It's over. Rosalind did it, and now even if she honestly admits that he threatened her, it won't help. Rosaline couldn't believe that Aslan had agreed so meekly. This question couldn't be, but she didn't quite understand because it had already happened. Glock Laristine could not do this for the sake of making Rosalind a duchess. He probably plans to kill him and take all his property after they get married. It's such a ridiculous and obvious plan. Aslan thinks he can just pretend everything is going according to plan, and then deal with them. Glock asked Rosalind if Aslan had come to see her today, and she confirmed it, after which the guy asked how everything went. She said that he must marry her if he did not want Helena's secret to be revealed. And he agreed. As I expected, Aslan's weakness turned out to be precisely this woman. Glock asked if the master had told her she needed to begin wedding preparations. Rosalind confirmed this, adding that he would set the wedding date himself. Glock was very pleased and said that everything was going better than he expected. There is very little time left for his plan to come to fruition. Aslan's wealth and power will be in their hands. Glock asked me if she was excited by the news she'd finally received the title of Duchess she'd dreamed of. Rosalind didn't know what to say, and he asked her if anything was bothering her. Everything is going exactly as he planned. All that remains is to finish it. If Glock had seen Aslan at that moment, he wouldn't have spoken like that, because it seemed like he was just a little bit closer to hitting her. Rosaline should have escaped from him long ago, but she should never have agreed to this plan in the first place. She didn't want to check that it was already too late. Meanwhile, Helena was writing a sheet of paper. When Aslan returns, she will need to have a serious talk with him. The father asked his daughter where she was going. She said that she wanted to send a letter to the Duke. It seems like just recently she was in a bad mood. But it looks like something good happened. Sophia said that everything was fine. It was just that the misunderstandings that had been building up over time had finally been resolved. A few days later, Hans came to her and explained that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Helena was glad to meet him. The guy gave her today's edition of the newspaper and a letter addressed to her. The girl was beaming with happiness and very grateful to him. Finally, a reply from Aslan had arrived. Hans was surprised with you that her companion was not here today. The girl said that he had some business to attend to, so he left for a while. Hans said that in that case, he would be leaving already and would be glad to see them again. Helena asked him to be careful on the way back. She gave her father today's issue, and he was very grateful to her. Helena was very interested in what Aslan had answered, and she thought that he would probably return soon. The gentleman apologized and said that urgent matters had arisen, and therefore he believed that he would not be able to come to her soon. Because of this, the girl became very upset, and her parents noticed this and began asking what happened. Helena told them that he had some business to attend to and that he was forced to stay in the center. He was not the type of person who would avoid her, so perhaps something serious had happened. The girl thought so too. Normally, she would have simply waited for Aslan, but now for some reason she had a bad feeling. So she decided that this meant she needed to go to the center in person. Helena turned to Aslan and asked me if he was curious to know what she wanted to tell him. They arrived. The man remarked that he was curious, but he had to go already. In his letter, he mentioned that he had some business to take care of, so he asked her if she would mind if he listened to her after he finished. She actually wrote to her mom about this, and she thinks that they really should talk when he sorts everything out. That's a good idea. It's unclear if everything will be okay, and Rosalind feels like things are getting more and more serious. Burst into her room, and she asked him what was going on and what had happened. The guy said that Helena had arrived in the center and was now at the Duke's estate. Rosaline was surprised that she asked again. She thought Aslan had called her, and perhaps he was going to tell her everything. But she thought that he wouldn't do such a thing even when Aslan brought her to the mansion. For the first time, he didn't tell her anything. Even if he did decide to share this with her, she still wouldn't be able to influence the situation. Glock doesn't know why, but she's here. But if that happened, they could be in trouble. Aslan has to give up on marrying me because of her, so he should meet her. Rosalind was shocked and asked what it meant, and hoped that he did not intend to harm her. She screamed that if he did that, Aslan would definitely not sit idly by. Glock asked her if she really thought he would do such a stupid thing. Glock will take care of everything, so Rosalind just has to sit and wait. Still, Glock isn't one to be truly quiet. That's why the girl is sure that he will definitely do something to Helena. Aslan asked Helena how she came across this store. Noble ladies rarely frequent such places. Jana told her about it. She said that you can find a lot of beautiful jewelry here. Aslan remarked that it was like a treasure hunt, and if she liked something, she should just say so. The girl noticed something beautiful, and she decided that if the price was reasonable, she would like it. Well, when she saw the price, she realized she didn't have that kind of money. Aslan watched all this. After this, the man approached her and asked why she changed her mind. Helena said that she doesn't really like the music box, and if she buys it, it will just gather dust somewhere. Aslan said that in that case, he wants it to be his gift for her. Helena became very embarrassed and began to say that this was not at all necessary, but the Duke insisted that she take it, and after that, the girl finally agreed. Previously, she thought that Aslan was just a kind person, but those letters convinced her of the sincerity of his feelings. The music box would soon be sent to Ellawood. Helena was very grateful to him. She noticed that it had started to rain, and by the time they walked to the carriage, their clothes would be soaked through. Aslan said he'd get an umbrella and walked straight into the rain. The girl still tried to stop him. She was worried about Aslan's clothes, not her own. The rain began to pour harder, and the girl was not sure that Aslan was okay. Suddenly, someone in a raincoat approached her. She was surprised and didn't understand who it was. It was Glock. He noted that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. That voice was definitely his. Glock asked if he should call her by her real name. Now she was absolutely certain that he was her half-brother. She asked him what he was doing there. Glock looked like he was seeking revenge on his little sister, who had betrayed him and run away. The girl tried to ask someone to help her, but he said that no one would help her, because the street around her was empty. Helena began to cry, but he told her not to be so afraid. Because if she did what he said, then everything would be fine, both with her and with Aslan. She had no idea what he wanted. Glock said she had to go away somewhere far away, somewhere Aslan definitely wouldn't be able to find her. Only she realized what Aslan really felt for her. Only the chance to finally talk to him came up. She posed as an aristocrat. By posing as someone else, she obtained permission to marry the emperor. This alone would be enough to accuse her of deliberately humiliating their ruler. Helena had no idea what he was talking about. If she didn't leave Aslan, they would both have to stand trial. In one instant, he will lose all his wealth and influence for which I fought so hard. And it was all because of her, an insignificant commoner. That's why she agreed to this. Helena said she would leave. Then Aslan approached her and apologized for keeping her waiting. He noticed that his wife was in tears, so he decided to ask what was wrong. Helena said she had to leave, but he didn't quite understand what that meant and assumed something had happened at her house. The girl apologized, but he screamed and asked her to first return home and calmly discuss everything, because she can't leave without sharing at least some details with him. They have already left. She is still the same, so the gentleman does not understand at all what happened while he was gone. It's possible that something happened at her home, or it was something else. It's completely unclear what news she could have learned in those couple of minutes that he was gone. Or maybe it was Glock Laristine and Rosalind Faradot's doing. What if those two were threatening her? Everything is so confusing. We can't make hasty exits, because nothing has been decided yet. The gentleman reported that his wife's room had probably already been prepared. The butler announced that he would see her out, and suddenly Aslan fell. The butler and Helena were in complete shock and ordered that a doctor be called immediately. The doctor said that it was nothing serious, but the body was very exhausted. He needs to recover from overwork and constant lack of sleep. He told the lady that there was no need to worry, because he just needed to sleep, that's all. The butler thanked him. The girl was shocked by how busy he had been, how exhausted and sleep-deprived he had become. The butler noticed that his master in truth had been working too much lately. As far as he knew, he slept even less than 2 hours a day. The gentleman returned to the center so suddenly. He was completely immersed in his work, barely eating, and they were very worried. Helena asked if there was anything else. The butler said he couldn't share details with her, but he did everything he could to protect her. Perhaps Glock Lareston had said something as unpleasant to him as he had said to her today. It must have been her that brought him back here. He was willing to do anything to keep her safe, and Helena almost ran away from him only because she believed Glock's words. She wants to hear a lot from him and say no less in response, so she asks him to wake up quickly. The girl spoke these words to him with a smile and tears in her eyes. Helena held his hand all this time and suddenly realized that Aslan had woken up. He was surprised to see his wife standing next to him. She was very happy. He had finally come to his senses, and it was such a relief. The gentleman was surprised that she had been here all this time and apologized for causing you concern. Helena said it was nothing special. In fact, it is she who should apologize, and it seems to her that she often disturbs him for no reason. His body has not yet fully recovered. The doctor said not to get up, but the Duke said it wasn't necessary, and it seemed she wanted to talk to him. Aslan also needs to discuss something with her, because he has been putting it off for a long time. Helena, of course, agreed with him, so they began talking. Rosalind was shocked when Glock said Aslan had fallen. The boy confirmed it. He noted that this was not the right time, because everything would have been more complicated if she had listened to him right away. But now she definitely would not leave. He needed to act sooner. Rosalind said she couldn't go on like this. Glock, horrified, asked what this meant. Rosalind screamed that she was no longer going to participate in his games. Rosaline doesn't want to be a duchess where she's tired, and she doesn't like that he's dragging her into something terrible. She wants to go somewhere where no one knows her, live quietly, and do nothing. Glock approached her and asked what she was talking about. And then he threw her on the floor and said that his head was about to explode, and on top of that, she was throwing tantrums. Glock sat down next to her and told her not to bother him and just do what he told her, just like she had been doing up until now. Rosalind decided to grab the vase and hit him, but the guy noticed it, but did not have time to react. Helena asked if he remembered introduced, telling him that broken trust is like a broken vase, and even if you glue it back together, traces will still remain. Aslan confirmed this. After these words, the girl said she was wrong. People's feelings, their trust in each other, all this has nothing to do with vases and the like. Even if there are cracks, they are just a reminder that they should not make the same mistakes. What their relationship will be like in the future depends on their actions in the present. Aslan was surprised when he heard what happened next. Helena said that this was why she wanted to talk. Only by talking to each other could they build a trusting relationship. And she also wanted to tell him that she truly loved him. For a long time, she hid her feelings, avoided him, and all because she was afraid that she would reject her, that she would be terribly hurt. Fears overcame her, and she preferred to deal with them alone. At some point, she felt she couldn't take it anymore and ran away. She apologized to him for leaving him without saying a word, and apologized for the harsh words she said to him in the heat of the moment. Aslan thought it was his fault, but the girl said she didn't need his changes. She thought that if she told him honestly about her feelings, he would do the same. Aslan said that as he had already said, he had indeed lost his memory, and this had left him in shock. He was completely confused. With the help of his subordinates, he was able to remember what happened before his 20th birthday. But that was all. When he was told that she was his wife, he immediately set out to find her to fill this gap in his memory. And when he met her, he realized he wanted to be with her. He called it a smart decision, which he was forced to accept in order to regain his memories. But of course, this was an unnecessary excuse in the summer. Although he didn't remember her, he was subconsciously obsessed with the thought that he simply couldn't leave her. The more he was with her, the more images appeared in his memory, but he remained silent. Aslan thought she would leave him if he said his memories had returned. Helena asked if she could ask him a question, something he had said and done so far. She doesn't think it was to see her reaction. Aslan said absolutely not, because he had been trying to dare to do this for a long time, and all this time he had simply hidden it, afraid of disappointing her. Having lost his memory and spent so much time with her, he realized he couldn't resist this desire. He gave her the ring. Aslan wants them to become real spouses because he loves her. By the way, Elna thought about whether it was worth telling about her conversation with Glock. She doesn't want Aslan to worry about her. Even if she reveals it, nothing will change anyway. Helena decided that she herself had said that they should be honest with each other, so she said she needed to tell him something else. And he told her to, of course, tell him. Glock Larestein approached her today. This surprised Aslan, and he asked again. Afterwards, he started asking if the bastard had threatened her. Helena confirmed it and said he had told her to leave him. Otherwise, he promised to tell all the odes that she had pretended to be an aristocrat and thereby insulted the emperor. Aslan remarked that it wasn't enough for him to pester him. He was also picking on his wife. Helena asked him what he was talking about, but he said nothing of the sort. She shouldn't worry about it. Helena started asking if he was sure about it. But if Glock really does do all this, then solving this problem will not be easy at all. Even if so, Aslan was already ready for this. But suddenly, someone called the master very loudly. Aslan came out and asked what had happened. The butler informed him that an unexpected guest had arrived, and he thought he should go out. She screamed to be let go immediately because she had to meet him. The maids screamed at her not to kick because she couldn't go there. This voice sounds like the voice of Rosalind Faridot. The woman kept calling for the Duke in tears. Aslan ordered to take her away if she continues to break free. Then they should call the knights. The butler immediately decided to begin, but Rosaline broke away and asked him to wait and listen to her. Helena was surprised to hear that Rosalind was there. The master ordered the butler to call the knights as well. Rosalind fell on her knees and begged him to forgive her because she wanted to tell him something about Glock Larestein. Glock Larestein threatened her. She'd finally escaped that bastard. She didn't know when he'd come for her again. Rosalind told them what Glock had planned. By threatening to reveal her secret, he planned to force Aslan to marry Rosalind. Helena remembers this. He contacted his competitor, the head of Mekchete, and together with him wanted to transfer the loan to her and Aslan in order to tarnish their reputation. By that time, Rosalind should have already become pregnant, and other relatives of the Tordal family had to deprive Aslan of the title of head of the family on the grounds that he was a criminal. Ultimately, he would be killed and disguised as an accident. Glock wanted to use Rosalind's status as Duchess to seize the property of Aslan and the Tordal family.